Nope, don't do the calendar. I don't think anything's on there, but check out B. And today we're going to be doing the, what is it? Pair. Pair. Double split. Action logic. Yeah, or available logic. Oh, that's the branch. Hold on. We're going to do this as available actions because this is the branch name. Available actions. The double quotes weren't needed because I wasn't putting a space. There's no space, so the double quotes weren't needed, by the way. All good though. So now we're on the new branch. All right. So again, now we're going to just discuss again, make sure everyone's on the same page with the logic. So before we do anything else, let me grab a tablet and we'll pull up our whiteboard session. A little drawing, because again, I want you guys to get used to this concept of planning what you're going to do and making sure it makes sense and understanding why we do it the way we do it, and how we understand this stuff. So, new share, board. Hey, it actually opened on the right screen this time. Great. This up a little bit, over here a little bit. Way, come on. There we go. All right, cool. So let's think of the actual blackjack table. We have our dealer cards here. Oh, that's not the pen. The button. There we go. There. So we have our dealer hands. In our current version of the game, we're not hiding any cards. So we'll say we have 3 and 7. We don't care about the suit right now. That actually doesn't matter in blackjack at all, the suit. So, and then we have our hand, 4 and 8, and then another person's hand we'll put that as 6 and 6. I don't want any good hands right now. So maybe we can do certain things. All right. So actually not. No, I want to do another 7. That puts this, so this hand's at 10. This hand is at 11. So it's a pretty good shot for 21 in a single hit because of the number of 10s in the deck. And this one's at 12. All right. So this player, of course, we have an 11. And because of how blackjack works, since we luckily can see everyone's hands, we know that no 10s have hit the board yet, right? How many 10s are in the RNA? How many in the game of blackjack? In a deck of cards, how many 10s are available?
16.
What is it?
I think 16, right?
16.
10,
So
queen and king times 4 suits.
10, king, queen, and jack. And that's all out of order, so never mind. We have 4 cards. 4 cards can have the value of 10. And there's 4 of each, right? So as he said. So yeah, so that times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So 16 cards in that deck can be a 10 out of, again, we'll do the whole math. We'll do 52, even though there's actually not 52 cards. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 less. So we have actually 46. Yeah, let's do that. What's the chances of getting that? It's a 16 out of 46. What's the percentage?
What are the chance?
1 out of 4 with the remainder of 6.
Yeah, 1 out of 4, right? We have a 1 in 4 chance of getting a 10 and getting 21. That's a pretty good chance. That's a pretty good risk or gauge to double on, right? And so this for me, like when I see an 11 and I don't see any 10 cards face up, I'm tempted to double because I have a pretty high chance, almost 1 in 4 chance, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 chance of getting a 10 and getting an instant 21 there. Now again, in order to double, I need to know that I'm allowed to double. What are the rules for doubling?
First turn.
Yeah, in the casino sense, yeah. First turn. And what else?
You have to have enough money to cover it.
Right. Balance. I must have at least greater than or equal to current bet. Whatever my current bet is, I need to have the same amount or more in my balance. And just to make sure everyone sees it, let's say we have a $25 bet here and a $30 bet here. We'll say that just on it. So I need to make sure I have enough. So what is a way I can test the first turn? We've already mentioned it, but just again, for sanity's sake, how do I know that this player is on their first turn right now? And again, as a computer, I can only have what I see here. If I want any other information, it has to be stored in a variable somewhere. So with the current information I have now, looking on the screen, can I determine that the player is on their first turn?
Yeah,
Yes,
How?
he only has 2 cards.
exactly.
Well, wait a second. You could
Not necessarily though.
not necessarily because you could stand on the first turn.
What happens though if I stand?
Then your turn's ended.
So is there a logical way
So
for
if
me?
they have 2 cards and their turn isn't ended yet.
Right. If I'm being asked what my action is and I have 2 cards, I have not stood, have I? Because if I stood, is anyone asking me what I want to do? After you
No.
tell me you're standing in blackjack, am I ever going to ask you what you want to do on that hand again?
No.
All right. That's that logical reasoning we can say. Well, at first we're like, well, let's see. Just be 2 cards definitely means the first turn, but what if they stand? Oh, wait, if they stand, I'm never going to ask again. Right. So that still flies. I could still say 2 cards, they haven't done anything yet. Because as soon as they do anything, we think about the 4 actions a player can make. Hit, stand, double, split. Spit. What happens when they hit?
They get a card.
Plus 1 card. So now the next time I ask, they now have 3 cards minimum, right? They have at least 3 or more cards if they've at least hit once, period. So we can tell right away that that still applies. So stand, what happens when they stand?
Turn in.
Turn ends. And they never asked again. What happens on a double? Sergio, you're muted if you're saying something. I see the mouth moving.
Am I muted?
I don't know. I saw your mouth moving. I
anymore.
didn't hear anything. So
No, I kind of asked out loud, like, what does happen on a double? I gotta like remind myself of the rules of the game.
okay,
right?
that's fine. I
It's like one
saw
of
the
those-
mouth move and I didn't hear any noise. So I'm like, oh, is he giving me an answer or is he asking the question? So that's why I like the cameras, because then I can check to see if any of you are giving an answer and I don't see it, because it lets me see the mouth is moving, but there's no audio. So that's one of the other main benefits of the camera.
There you go. Pulling
Yeah,
the
what happens on a
Wikipedia.
double in a casino?
Just
Get
hit
it.
once.
Yeah, you get another card and your
You
bet
get a card.
increases.
That increases, and one more thing happens.
Is it
What else?
double
Turn
down,
ends.
right?
What?
Sorry. Double down
And
is what it's
turn
called?
ends.
That's another term for it. Yeah, that's where the shorthand double stands for double down. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Bet increases. And what was the last thing? I think I heard someone say it.
The turn ends.
Yeah, and your turn ends. So like a stand, it's a hit stand combination. On a split, what happens?
You create a new hand and move 1 card to that hand. And draw 2 new cards for each hand.
And how many cards do each of those hands have?
1 each.
2 each, right?
But yeah. I thought you meant how many do they draw?
Oh no, yeah, they all have 2 hands, and those are now considered new hands, right? So even this one's considered new, which means after you split, can you double on that first hand?
Yes.
And so this is where it helps to do the count of cards, not just the count of turns. Because even though this hand, you could argue, is the same hand, since it has only 2 cards, it's its first turn, it can still double and split again on. This is where it can make very good sense to make sure that even because split doesn't end a turn and it still stays with the same hand we're actively on, why the 2 card count helps more than counting how many actions the player has taken. Because a split does not cancel the ability to double or split in the new hands that were created. Once you split, you can double on any one of those 2 hands that you now just created. They are treated as if they're on their first turn, even though you could argue that this hand, specifically the first hand we had, is the same hand instance that we've already been working with, right? And so this is where that 2 heart item seems to fit, right? If we keep asking ourselves if they have 2 cards, we can handle all these situations. The double, once we double once, we can't double again because we end our turn. If we stand, we can't double after we stand because our turn ends. If we hit, we can't double because the hit adds an extra card. If we split though, we can still double because we have 2 cards in each hand, and we want that behavior. We want to be able to split on double on those 2 new hands we have. And so the counting of the cards is something we have access to. We can count these without needing an extra variable. We have access to the length of a list. And so that is data we have readily available to ourselves, right? We don't need any other additional logic in order to detect that it's their first turn. That's what's really useful about this logic and why it helps to go through this. And why sometimes it's like, you know what? I think this is the way of we doing it. I can do it. And this is where it can help to go through these. Not to mention, like, if you decided to come up with the count turn system, this can help you to realize that a hit should increment the count. A stand, it can increment the count, but again, it ends the turn, so I don't necessarily need to increment the count. Same with the double. If I do double, I can increment the turn count, but at the same time, I don't need to because I'm ended. But the split, I can find out, oh, if I split, I shouldn't increment the turn account. I shouldn't increment the turn account because I want to make sure I can split on this new hand too. And so even if you went that route, I think, like, for example, like Matt, you had the turn counter. Same concept. Going through this can help make sure that you implement that system correctly to handle all scenarios. I'm wondering right now, like, with your implementation of your counter system, did you realize that split, you don't want to increment that action? Counter?
Absolutely not. Split was the one that I had the least amount of certainty on. So I actually just changed it to the size of the cards array list.
All good. But again, your implementation is valid. It would work. It's something we could do. We would just have to make sure we handle all scenarios in the right way to make sure we can handle all scenarios. And this is where it can help to take your theorized solution and to run it against the scenarios that we're gonna have to deal with in our program to make sure we're handling it the right way. Cool. Can I erase easier? Nope, I don't think I can. It doesn't matter. We're actually gonna go code. So, well, no, let's discuss the split as well. Make sure we get that. So, all right, keep these over here because we test with these again. All right. So now this player, again, we have 12. Hitting is dangerous. No one has any 10s up. Let's say this player goes first. And so this player hasn't doubled yet. They haven't done anything yet. So we're going to just change the order and say that the player to the right is actually going to go first now. So they see they have a 12. Hitting is dangerous because, again, we have a 1 in 4 chance of getting a 10 and busting immediately. We're definitely not doubling. We have 2 6s, which are decent. They're okay cards. Maybe I could have done better, but it's fine. Main thing is I wanted the 12. We see the opponent has 3 10. They have a 10. They would have to hit, but they have a good chance of getting a 20. So again, we wouldn't know this per se, but in this situation we do. So in this case, I would probably split to hope that I get either a lower number, maybe get the 5 so that I can get an 11 and do a hit on 11, or something just lower so I have a less likely chance to bust when I hit. That's kind of what I'm shooting for here, is I don't like my 12 because it's the worst hand I can have for a hit. Because if I get something low, I'm nowhere near the 20. If I get the higher cards of the 10s, I'm instant busting. So I want to split. Again, rules to split. Let's confirm these. One of these things I do here is, like, I now know that you all know the rules, pretty confident you all know them. But again, this is what I like to call a sanity check. Even if I'm confident I know the rules, it's good to confirm it to know that I am thinking it accurately and logically. So what are the rules to split? And I don't forget anything. Go ahead.
Need a pair.
All right. I was going to say probably should refer to the previous one, but yeah, that is the most obvious one first. Need a pair. That's a very obvious thing. Without a pair, we don't even care. What else do we need?
Balance.
We need the balance to cover the new bet. Yep. Current bet. Anything else?
More cards.
What's that?
More cards?
Not really. No, I'm not sure what you mean more cards. More cards where? You mean?
Well, because you're gonna split, so we're gonna need a new card for each.
True, but that's not something I should
split.
have to worry about. That's up to the casino to make sure they have enough cards for me, right? I'm not aware of any game of blackjack where there's not enough cards in the deck to deal out. right? Like technically, yes, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's handled. I'm gonna assume that the deck has enough cards.
I think he's just asking, like, all right, now it's time to add the 2 cards.
Yeah.
Right,
Again,
we
those aren't-
deal another card to each hand that splits,
Mhm.
but each 6 breaks off to its own hand.
Right.
Get
I think
the second card.
Right. I think the questions are a little confusing. What are the rules that allow me to split? Right. Not what happens when I split.
I thought we
Sorry.
were split. Yeah, I thought we were splitting, and this
I
was
realize that now.
what we
Yeah,
needed to
keep
happen.
No, not that. What are the rules that allow me to even take the split action? So one, I need to have a pair in order to be able to split. I must have enough money in my balance to cover the split. And there's one more kind of rule that isn't really explicit, but it is. What's the other one again?
First turn.
First turn again, yep. And the reason why I want to make sure this is clear is because if we use these, and why it's good to be explicit on some of these things, is just to be, if we think about it in a logical sense, if I was to add another card here, 3, and let's say my balance, I have $100 in my balance. Looking at this hand here, if I look at this rule, true or false? Do I have a pair? I do, right?
Yeah.
Do I have enough balance to cover a split?
Yes.
Yes. But should I be allowed to split? Am I allowed to
with
split
three
with this
pair.
hand? What?
Yeah.
Not with the
If
3
it's
there.
not the first turn.
Right, exactly. Because this extra card, I'm not allowed to split. So yes, we must be on our first turn. So that's why
Oh,
we
instead
want
of
this
saying
extra
like
card.
something extra like first turn, couldn't we just use the size of the hand again?
Exactly. Yep. And then well, we already we discussed how we're going to, in order to determine it's the first turn, we're going to count how many cards.
Yeah, but what if you wanted to split again? Then it's not the first turn.
Right, and that's why we clarified that the way for us to determine it was first turn is by counting the number of cards, and so we can still
Okay.
count it as that. Yeah, that's where we realize that it's first turn is in the sense of the first action that hand takes. And when you split, you create 2 new hands, is what they say. Even though in our game, one of those instances are not new, they consider it a new hand because it's got a brand new set of 2 cards. So this is where we determine that the best way to determine it's the first turn for that hand is to just count the cards.
Isn't after you deal, that's considered like you know that's the first turn after all the cards have been dealt onto the table?
True, but how do I know that? But again, how would I know that? We need to use data and logic that's here.
You just asked the question after hand dot dealt.
Again, is there something do I see that anywhere on the screen here? I need to think of what does the computer have access to? What knowledge does the computer have? The computer doesn't know what just occurred behind me. I don't know what actions just took place. And that's where it matters here. And this is something like we need to be able to look at what information do I have available as the computer. I can access my hand. If I need to, I'm sure I can find a way to get access to the other hand and be able to say, hey, how many cards do you have? I'm sure I could get that. And so that's what I'm trying to showcase here in this screen, right in this area right here. I probably should have boxed it off and not written in it. But this area here is supposed to be the state of the game, the data that's available to the computer at this time. And this is data I can send around. So I know, even though right now in our current setup, this hand doesn't have access to the other hands, but if I wanted to, I'm sure I could get access to those, right? I could pass them in as a parameter, right? I could pass the whole table in if I needed it. So my purpose here is just to show what data is available. We know we can get the value of the hand. We have the get the display value method or get value method. We know we have access to the bet in the hand class. We know we have access to each individual card and the number of cards we have. We know we have access to the player's balance. So that's why I'm putting this information here. This is information we have access to. I don't have access to know what actions just took place, what functions ran, right? That's not a common thing for the system to keep track of. If I wanted that, I'd have to make a variable for it that can keep track of the current action that just took place. And so this is something I really prefer. This for me is kind of like one of the main things I like to do is just to see what information is available for my logic, so that I make sure that I'm not trying to access information that I don't have. But if I do want it, then I figure out where I can get that data and how do I get that data, right?
It's kind of like those logic grids that you showed us.
In a way, kind of, yeah. It's a great way to kind of look at that, yeah. And that's why I tell you, those items are a great way to build your knowledge. Nonograms are a great way to build your just if this, then that kind of mentality. And because of this, that's true. Like there's a lot of just logical puzzles out there that you can do to improve your logical deductive reasoning skill set if you can't code. That's one of my biggest things I can say. If you're, like I said, if you're the passenger in your car, solve some logic problems, do some nonograms, some problems. If you're sitting on a train, you don't have access to like your folk, you can't bring out your computer or whatever you're doing. If you're doing something passive, find a way to just challenge your mind mentally. Do some logical deductive reasoning items. Find some challenges. And if you find a different logical puzzle that you think the class will benefit from, share it. But there we go. So these are the items. And so the only thing, if we look at this, these two rules mimic the rules of double. So we only need to add that need a pair. And how do we determine if we have a pair? Using the data we have available to us. Again, we're going to assume that it's going to be, we're testing it on a blackjack hand. So we're only going to run it on the first turn. So how do we know if this hand is a pair? Based on a computer, which if you remember how a computer looks at a list, they're both face down to start.
So they would look at index 0 and see if it's equal to index 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this one equal to this one? We can point at the two cards and get their values. Good.
So Cliff, in the blackjack that we're doing here, are we considering a 10 and a face card a pair?
That's a good question. Yep. I usually now normally I don't get asked that question, so I usually just start with a soft pair, which is a value-based pair, and then I challenge you guys to go ahead and build the hard pair detection if you want. But since you've asked it, we can have you guys decide. Do we want to do a hard pair detection or soft pair detection? So soft pair is we pair them based on value. So Jack and Queen, King and King, King and 10 are considered pairs and allowed to split. You can split on anything that is a pair of two of the same value. A hard pair is it's based on the actual card value. So Jack and Jack can split, Queen and Queen can split, Jack and Queen cannot.
That's casino rules, right?
I believe casino does
Hard-
hard pair. Yeah.
So
wanna
the
go?
reason I think that we should do hard pairs is because when it comes to aces, it won't work if you base it on value,
Very true. Yeah.
because
Well,
it'll
kind
consider
of.
1 a 1 and the other one an 11
Not
based on the
quite.
logic
'Cause
we already have.
remember, not quite because that logic.
But you get the value
Yeah,
separately
oh,
for just getting one
That's
card
an
though,
issue I ran
right?
into when I was doing mine. That's why.
I have to
Really?
double check that. Yeah, that
Yeah, because you
might
set it up
happen.
that the first ace, the second ace becomes a lot, they flip when depending on the value.
Yeah, but
Depends
if
on
you're
how
just
much
having
depth
The
the
first
card by
one's
itself,
gonna
you're just
be
getting one
considered an
value.
11 because it would be under 21. Then the next one would push it over 21, so it's going to be considered.
But why can't you just do like if one is equal to
Yeah,
one?
but see, that's the thing though. If you get two of them, you've already got a 12,
Right.
12 already in your hand.
Exactly. It's never going to be a 2 or a 22.
Instead
That's
of
Based on the
checking by
logic that we
value, you
have
can
here.
check by the rank. So if both of them
That's
are
what we're thinking.
aces,
Yeah, we're
That's what I'm saying.
thinking of doing that because that's the more common rule and the more way the casinos do it. But yeah, something to consider. Now, I don't know if our current logic would do that ace thing, but it has that potential. That's something to consider, and something we'd have to check to make sure it would or wouldn't do that. Yeah, so if we went on a soft check, we would have to check to see if our aces were being evaluated correctly. I don't know if our logic would, because I think if you're pulling just an individual value, it should come in as 11 either way, because we're not comparing the two together, but it's possible. So that's something we would have to be aware of and have to check on. So good realizing that, yeah, that there's a potential flaw in the system, the value additive of the soft check. So yeah, a hard check is definitely the one we probably want to do. So we want to make sure we can get the rank of it, which is probably a good way of wording it. Yeah, rank instead of value for this case. Even though the term is value in our card, we're really looking for the rank of the card and comparing ranks. So not our blackjack value. What's that? David, yep. Oh. Huh, that's kind of ironic. I just found out David got sent to Vegas for his company. I figure that's okay to share with the class.
What happened?
Apparently David got sent to Vegas for his company to do work, so he's not gonna be available.
They're paying for his blackjack research.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, I was like, wait a minute,
That's dedication right there.
Yeah, there you go.
I go to an actual casino.
So yeah, it just said, yeah, don't play too much blackjack. How ironic. Out of all the places that get sent while we're learning blackjack, he gets sent to he's in Vegas. That's awesome, actually. That makes me laugh. All right, so we have our concepts, we have our plan of attacks. Let's go ahead and switch back over to our desktop one. Over. Move away. Tablet for the second, so I can get access to the keyboard without having to reach my hands off the table. And bend back. Very good. All right, so first things first, confirm first turn, which we decided we can do based on just counting the hand. Now, again, as this is something Mike definitely showed us, I don't have a hand anywhere right now. I don't have access to a hand in this method because the player doesn't have a hand. The hand has a player. However, again, one of the things I check in is then, okay, well, I know that the player has a hand. So, I mean, the hand has a player. And so I could always just have if the hand is calling this action, I could send the hand in that way. So I know I can get the hand as a parameter from either from the hand, or even if I'm calling it from main, I can use the hand to send it through. So this should be able to tell me like I shouldn't really need to suddenly add a hand to the player. There is a way for me to get it. There should be a way for me to get it through that ownership. Because the hand has the player, there's already that connection between the two. There should be some way for me to be able to get the hand into this account class without having to store it both ways. Now, are there situations where you do want that dual ownership? Totally. Just be aware that that's a little more complex of a situation. That's considered a dual. It's considered a dual composition, which definitely hard connects those two instances together, which can be a bit of a pain, but it's totally doable. And the downside to that I want to make sure is very, very clear, and like not to pick too much on you a little on this, but the only downside of that is to consider what happens now if I have a second hand. Unless now the player class has a list of hands and I know which one I'm dealing with, I now have an issue, don't I? So we want to avoid putting a single hand inside of the player when a player can actually have multiple hands attached to them, right? That's one of those things we want to be careful of here. So we definitely want to get it by a parameter. So,
I don't like this to be in the recording, but I want to change my computer. Does that mean if I could just leave this meeting and go to another one, I can get back in?
I would let you in, but yeah, you'll be in the waiting room, but I'll see it and I'll let you in. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. You're good.
Back.
Yep. That's why you would want it in the recording. Okay. So, again, where that's coming from yet, I don't necessarily care per se, but I know I'm confident I should be able to get this as a parameter. That's where I'm going with this first. I know we already discussed a couple of seconds ago that where it's being called, we can call it, but again, I'm going to hold off for the moment because we also know that once I do this, if I'm calling it anywhere, I'm going to get an alert to it saying, hey, there's a place that you're using this that is not correct. So, but let's do this now. So to confirm the first turn. Again, what I prefer to do is to do if something return. So, or if something, then add and then do additional checks. But let's see what we can do here. So if first turn, how do we do that? So how do I determine if it's first turn again? And I have access to the hand.
And size.
Have that. Hand's an object.
Oh, no.
All right. So let's look at the hand class and see what I can do. Ooh, that's in my way now. So here's my hand class. What do I want to do? I want to get the size of what, technically?
You want to see how many cards they have in their hand?
Which is what line in hand?
10.
There it is. Yep. So I want to get the size of this guy, right?
So it would be
Size
hand
of the cards list.
dot cards dot size.
I'll try that. Okay, card doesn't show up. Why not?
Because we need.
Private.
Private,
So what can we do?
make it protected.
Could do that, or could we do
No,
another one
you
of
have
these
the
things?
access of the value, right? Get value.
We could do that. We could also do another pass through, right? We want access to that size method of the cards item, which is a composition list, right? It's a list that is a class itself. So we can also just do public int size. And all it's going to do is return cards dot size. Pass-through method, remember?
Right.
And that makes it very legible to us, doesn't it? This makes a little more sense to do hand dot size, doesn't it? Why is it upset? Oh, I forgot the semicolon. And size is, it's a primary, right? Yeah, it's an option, yeah.
Wasn't cards still private?
But it's inside the class. Hold on, why is it upset? Let me. Oh, right, I forgot. Java doesn't count Booleans as ints or anything, so it's just waiting for you to do if hand dot size is what?
Equal to 2.
There it is, yep. There we go. That's what I was upset about.
So is
If
that
our
like
hands
the
are-
same thing as, is a pass-through method almost the same as a getter?
In a way, yes. The main difference again is we're just using the name of the method is the same name as the method being called inside the method. So we use the term size to call the exact same method inside there. It's just allowing us to
I see,
access
I
that
see.
same method name. Yeah, but it's 100% a getter. Yeah,
So
we're just
instead
getting a
of,
value.
exactly, so instead of going hand dot cards dot,
And the
okay,
main benefit is we're not returning the list, where if I return the list, I now have access to dot add, dot delete, dot remove. If I return the whole list, that's a risky item. You could, of course, just name this card count. Do that. Do number of cards, whatever you wanted to do. For me,
I don't know
the
how I
pass
keep turning
through.
off my video.
What's that?
My video keeps going off, I'm not sure why.
That's annoying. Yeah. For me, the main reason I like the pass-throughs is because we get to use that same method name that I usually already understand. So
Yeah, I like that, it's pretty cool.
cool. Yeah. Awesome. So we get this, which looks really nice. Hand dot size equal to 2. And by reading that, I'm pretty confident I know exactly what I'm getting, right? Again, that's what we're shooting for, that readability. And that's where pass-throughs become really, really nice. They increase that legibility instead of having to do hand.cards.size. It gets really annoying here to see that. Keeps it nice and clean. So first, yep, confirm the first turn, and then step 2, confirm we have enough funds. And so since we need to do both be applied, it's not a partial application, we need both. We're gonna do the and because we need true and true, right? If one's true and one's false, it instantly fails. So we want to do the and because we care about both scenarios. So now how do we confirm we have enough funds? What's the rule for that?
Balance equals the current bet. Or greater than equal to the current bet.
Balance is greater than or equal to what's current bet? What is that? 'Cause that's not a field we have in the player class.
I'm not sure where that's stored. I'm not sure the name of the field that that's stored in.
Does anyone remember where that is? Not here in the player. Where's the bet held again?
In the hand, no?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Remember, when we split and we have those 2 separate hands, we can double one and not double the other. So one hand could have twice the funds than the other hand. That's why we put the bet on the hand. Because the bet can change. We have access to our hand, we can do hand.bet, but we still have a problem. It is private. What do we want to do with it? Do we want to change it to protected where it now has getter and setter, or do we just want the getter? We don't want to change it.
Just a getter.
To
All
get
right,
her.
for now, we just want to getter, yes. Could we maybe want the setter later? Maybe, but for the moment, we just want the data. We don't want to change it. So
Can you make that a pass through though?
I don't think this has a path because
I'm just
it's not a
asking.
method. Right?
Yeah.
We're just getting the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, pass throughs for methods. This is just a getter. There we go. Yeah, some people might do that. Well, they'll do dot bet, but again, I don't know if you can do that because of its private method. I don't know if you can create a public int bet because then it conflicts with the field. So we can't do a pass through there as well for that reason. So if our balance is greater than or equal to our current bet, we are good to go ahead and add the double system, right? And the double is
I have
just
one more question about the pass through.
ahead.
So on line 63, so size, is that technically an override? Or no?
Not quite, because the hand class doesn't have size, 'cause it's not a list.
Right,
So it
but
won't be an
the
overload.
list class has it.
The
Oh,
list
no, 'cause
class
it's
has
not
it. Yeah.
implementing anything, right?
Right. Well, yeah, again, the list has it. So cards, the list has size, but hand by itself, since hand isn't a list or anything like that, and the object class doesn't have a size method.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not technically an overload. Yep. Yeah, these are great questions, actually. Yeah. Cool. And the size, yep, is greater than hand.bet. We can go ahead and add in that. So we definitely want to make sure. So now we want to do at least one thing. We want to, of course, append to our text number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and do append. What is it? /n 3 dot. Good. Got that. So we can also move this up, actually. So now the logic for split, which also adds logic to detect pair. So first off, we also know we do need to do the same exact conditions here. So we should only check this if what?
If the condition above it's already true.
So where should the starting logic for this go?
It could be nested within that it's if statement
Sure,
right there.
Yeah, we can put it inside here, right? Only run this if statement if the first one completes. So first we add on the double, and then we check to see if we add on the split as well. And so now we want to check for a pair. Well, I don't think the player needs to determine if they have a pair, but we could. We have the hand, we could have the player detect. We can also make it where the hand itself can tell us whether or not it has a pair. That could be useful as a nice little method. So there's a couple ways we can build this. We think about it. We could do has pair, returns true with pair. One pair is in the hand. And in this case, we can of course check for all of them, and this we could also code in a way that works for the two for any size hand. So that could be a very universal type, and it's just a Boolean, true or false. We could do a count pair, which again is universal, but I don't think we need that much. We just need to know that they have one. The other item we can also do is something called is pair. Takes 2 cards, and determines if pair. So that. Any other ideas, like other things we could do in general relating to pairs? You mentioned count pair, but that's not really needed.
You could call it check pair.
What does check pair do?
It just checks the index of 0 and 1 and sees if it's a pair.
Gonna do a Boolean. It's like has pair is pair. If you're gonna be doing
Right.
a Boolean, make sure this is a yes or no. If it's
I
gonna
think
be-
Matt had something similar in his, but he had a count.
He had a count with has. So his has did the count pair first, and then as long as he found at least one, he did true or false, he did return 1. So his has pair had the count pair logic in, but it was definitely doing a has pair. As long as there was one pair in it, at least one, he returned 1. So he didn't actually return the count. Yeah, and he called his check pair. So which one do we want to build? The check pair definitely sounds the simplest because it definitely fits more with the blackjack system. And if we look at our get value is that blackjack specific.
I have a quick question just on syntax, just because I haven't,
Oh, sure.
first time I'm looking at it. Is it common to have a switch statement and then a nested if statement and a ternary all within one block?
Usually no, this is something we could definitely pull apart. Honestly, you could have these in there. That's not a big issue, but you definitely could try to pull this whole thing into a function.
Okay.
Because these are not really basing it on anything else in the system. The thing is, we
Okay.
just of course have to pass the have ace along as a parameter. So we could pull this whole conditional inside of here into a method to do evaluate card. We could create an evaluate card method. So this whole thing could be put into something else and then returned the card. We can then return the value, actually keep this out. Yeah, do this here. Yeah. That could all be put into a method. Evaluate card, return that value into return the value into value so that all this could be pulled away. 100% we could put that into a function. 100%. And I might do that later to clean up a little bit. So no, good catch. That is definitely a bit massive. Do multiple things. Right. So again, so my question, by the way, so get value, is this blackjack specific?
Yes.
Yes.
100%, right? Which is definitely the value of a blackjack system. So it's safe to say that our hand is a blackjack specific hand.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're definitely not creating a generic hand class right now. If we wanted to, we would have to pull this whole method out and make it input into a blackjack hand child class. So if we wanted this hand class to be a generic hand class, we already have one method in here that's against that rule. And so we can code this with that behavior of being blackjack specific. And later on, when we do want to pull it apart because we want to access the hand class, we can do that later. Create a blackjack hand child class that implements hand, or sorry, extends hand, pull these two methods into that class, and then we have the two separate classes. So again, something we might do later on. At the time, we can assume that this is a blackjack hand specific class. So which one, if we think about that, when are we going to run this pair system? When in blackjack do we care about pairs?
First turn.
Yeah, and only when we have two cards then, right?
Yep.
So we want to argue the check pair method here seems to be the simplest, most basic MVP kind of concept we can use for this problem, right? That we currently have. All of these, of course, will solve our problem. All of these will let us know whether or not we have at least a one pair to be able to split our hand. In the blackjack, though, this seems to be the simplest version of that, right? The most simplest, straight to the point version of it because it's blackjack specific. So we can go ahead and do check pair. We can also even call it has pair. We don't have to call it check pair. I just want to give them unique names so you guys can see them differently. But once we implement it, we can call it whatever we want. So what do we want to call this? This is going to be, of course, we said probably good to do a Boolean, right? Because it's going to be used in a condition. And what's a good name for this?
Can split.
All right, good call that. We like that one. That is a yes or no question,
Works for
right?
me.
And split. That does sound like a yes or no type of statement, right? If can split, yes or no.
With a question mark.
I usually don't like
Is
asking
that
question
that's
marks.
the only time we ever need to
I also
know?
don't think JavaScript. Yeah, you can't do that in Java. I
Can't do
forgot.
that.
It'll treat it as a ternary.
So the only time we're ever gonna need to check for a pair in blackjack is to split, correct?
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
true.
okay.
It is any other reason for a pair in blackjack? Do you get more points for having a spare? No. So yeah, the only reason we care about a pair is for the split system.
Just want to make sure we stop and ask that for a second.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a great thing to double check too. Yeah. Good point out. Yep. Because this is definitely a very specific method name that is meant for certain things. Yeah. Cool. So it can split. And that way, if we ever determine if there's ever a reason, if we ever want to change what allows for a split, we can just go to this can split method to change that. If we ever wanted to create our own version of what is it, blackjack, and let's say we wanted to convert it to being a soft pair, we can then switch this. So we can go to the can split and switch it to soft pair. So we're already in the hand, so we don't need any parameters in this case. We already have access to the cards. And so what's our if statement? Or return, how do we do the condition? I don't want to keep hearing from Mike, people. He's been giving me good answers. I want to hear from others. Come on.
Don't you have to go through the whole hand? No?
And so this is what we just discussed, remember? So in blackjack specific, we're only ever going to check for pairs when they have two cards. We're never going to check for pairs any other time. And so we can assume that if we're running this, we have two cards, right? Is that concept of logical deductions?
Just two cards, not more than two cards, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Because if we have more than two cards, we're not allowed to split, can we? That's an instant failure anyway. And so if you think about it, if we're running this here, if we're going to call this method on this line here, 48, can we assume we only have two cards?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Matt.
The first, because it's the first term,
Oh,
right?
Keith,
Yeah, because
what-
this
you in the line, Keith? Hold on, Matt. I think
sorry.
Keith said yes, actually. I'm going to get Keith because I'm pretty sure you built this. I know you built this. So Keith, what line number? You said the first thing.
Um,
It's there.
I don't see it.
Matt, do you see it?
cursor's right near
Yeah,
Oh,
Chris
cursor's
is right
close
near
to
it.
it.
Is anything here saying that the hand has only two cards in it?
Oh, hand size.
There it is, right there, right? We only can hit this line if our hand is at size 2. And if we're only ever calling this method here, that means we can deductively state that we only have two cards. Logic, flow, and reasoning.
So this seems weird, but you want to check it if, well, wait, do we have access to a list?
We're in the hand class,
Okay.
so we have cards.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you can just check against index 0 and index 1 to see if they equal.
How do I get index 0? The list?
Get 0, get
Yeah.
0.
Sanity check there. Some of you guys remember it's dot get.
Yeah.
If cards dot get 0,
Equals card dot get 1. It just seems weird because we're putting like magic
is
numbers.
that going to work though?
Don't we need the face values?
Well, we need to.
What is
we
this
need
going to
to-
give me? This is going to give me the whole class, which is what? What's the value of the whole class that it's going to be comparing? This is going to be interesting to see if anyone can actually give me the correct answer here. What is it actually comparing right now?
It's gonna give you a card, isn't it?
What's that? Yeah, these are going to give me the full card.
Full
So what is
card.
actually being compared here?
The reference location.
Those
Oh,
one
if
of those
it's the
things you
ace of
print out.
spades matches the ace of spades.
Yep. Yeah, it's not going to be, not even that. It has to be the exact same instance of ace of spades.
Yeah.
If I create two new cards, both ace of spades, that doesn't count.
No, it's just
It's the
checking the
reference.
memory address here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
The
you
thing
just
you
need
print
to-
out when you print the card, remember, and you don't override it, it's checking those things. It's checking to see if these are the exact same instances. So we don't want that. What do we need next then? To make sure we're checking the right value or the right instance, the right information, sorry.
Dot value.
We have get value.
Aren't we gonna do a hard one?
Let's see. So we get value here on the card. So this is happening on the card class. So let's go check our card class to see what the get value actually gives us. Does that give us rank or the value of blackjack? What does this give us? Does this give us the blackjack value or the card value?
Isn't it the card value?
That is the card value. Yep. So there's a slight difference there. And this is one of the downsides we had. So maybe it might be nicer to maybe switch this from value to rank maybe, but that could be a good amount of refactoring. So we're going to keep it value for the moment. But yes, this is giving us the card value, not the blackjack value. So ace is 1, king is 13, jack is going to be 11. So
I think we need something from the hand class.
what do we need from the hand class?
No, but if you give value, that means
Because
that's hard.
isn't the hand class where we say if it's 11 or if it's, I mean, if it's an ace or a king?
Yes.
Or,
That's what happens here. So the get value on the hand class gets the value of the whole hand, and it does the evaluation of changing jack,
Okay.
queen, and king, and ace to their blackjack values. So this is actually safe. And that's what I'm thinking. My implementation of the card system, a soft item wouldn't be a problem. We wouldn't have to worry about the soft item. So
That's will do hard though, wouldn't it?
this is hard. Yep, this is going to do a hard.
because
This is going to do a
13
hard. part.
versus equals 13.
Yep.
oh, so the card class also has a get value method. That's what you were saying
Yes.
before?
Yep, yep,
Okay,
yep.
that's where I was confused.
No worries. I was wondering about that. But again, that's what's key about making sure we do the right one, because that can be a little confusing that we had that. Why maybe it might have been better actually, or this would be a hint like, ooh, maybe I should update the card class to use rank and suit instead of value and suit, because this is a bit misleading, right?
I
Now
think
it's not, at least now it
Did
is.
you
So
refactor it as get card value?
could do that, but then we have card dot get card value, which is a bit excessive or a bit redundant.
I think if you,
wanna do that.
I think if you change value right there and refactor it, it'll actually go through the entire like code and change.
Will,
every-
but you know what?
You
Let's
gotta
try it.
figure out
Let's see
which-
what
you gotta
happens.
figure which ones not to do or not to do.
Let's see what happens. We're gonna rename. We're gonna call it rank now. And it doesn't update the get value method yet, so we'd have to do that as well. So we do get all these updated. This doesn't get changed, so we need to do this one. So let's do this one. Factor rename. Oh, whoops, I'm not done with this one yet. Hold on. I click there and hit enter. Oop, yeah. Oop, dang it. Cancel. Hold on.
Oh,
undo
so I
all
think
it.
that'll,
Do that again. I did that wrong. Hold on. Rename. Rank. Hit enter. It's going to tell me these locations also use it. So yeah, get value here. Do we want to rename it to get rank? We do. So yes, select all and click OK. Same here. We have the
I think you
public
gotta
card
check the box
constructor.
first.
Oh, I did select all, which checks it. Yeah. So you can check it visibly or hit the select all to select all the constructor parameters. So if you had more than one constructor, it would list multiple constructors. We only have one. So, yeah. So we got this constructor. We're going to change that to rank as well. So click OK. And now it's updated all to rank. That does it now. Cool. And that should also update anywhere that we were using get rank. So we go to hand class. We check here and here now. We should see we have get rank and our get value now. So now here as well, we go down here, we see we now get rank and get rank. And that's going to help make it a little more clear when we're getting the rank of a card or the blackjack value of a card. And so that's actually, okay, so that actually worked really well. Their refactor system in IntelliJ is really nice. So
your
feel
player
free to take advantage of
class-
that. What's that?
The player class is red though. Is that something that was always
In
there?
there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
we're not
Okay.
all that.
All right.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
I
not done
see.
with that.
Right. All right. Yep.
Yeah, that's already there. Don't worry about that. All right.
So that get
cards
rank
dot-
that you're using on line 71, that is, that's like an overloaded method, or not overloaded, overridden.
Not quite. No one else has get rank. What we were doing here is these were separate items. So get value was part of the hand class and get value on the card was on the card class. Since there's no inheritance, there's no overloading or overriding involved. We're running them on the class that has it. Overloading is the same method name within the same class with different parameters.
So I
That's
thought we
overloaded.
wanted to use get value though, because
We
I thought
use
were
get value
checking-
on the card class, not get value on the hand system. So we didn't run this get value because also this get value gets the hands value, the whole hand, not just an individual card. See,
Oh, right.
right? This is
Okay.
get value of the hand. So hand dot get value, which
Oh,
makes
okay,
sense
I
to get the
see.
value of
Alright.
the whole hand.
Yeah, I was a
Yeah.
little confused at what each method was doing. I
Oh yeah,
can
no,
see
and
it
that's
though.
again where
Okay.
the similar names can start being a problem, which is where it's actually good and smart to realize that, you know what, we have some names that are similar, but yet are very different. And so it can help to update the card system to use rank instead of value, because the rank of the card does not necessarily indicate the value of the card, does it? And so this is actually a really smart thing to do to change it to rank. So I'm actually glad that the refactoring system worked. I usually never did this before because it's just, I didn't realize how effective that refactor tool is. And I never wanted to go through it myself, but this is actually a much better card class, rank in suit instead of value in suit. So you also know that the rank of a card doesn't mean much to it. We know ace, while has a rank of 1, can also be considered the highest card too, right? So rank doesn't give any sort of idea of like how much it's worth or what its point total is or anything like that. Rank just says this is its rank. It's an ace, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and even that doesn't mean anything about what it's actually worth. Is a 2 worse or better? So now we have the get rank and get value. So now we have two very specific, very different methods now. Which is really nice and good for, as we see, readability and understanding, comprehension. So why we care how here is the card's rank the same as the other card's rank? In this case, that gives us the hard pair. So jack can only match with a jack. So we can go back over here. We can do if and dot can split. What?
The ace should work now because it's considered 1.
What's that?
The ace should work now because
Yep.
it's considered 1.
Right, because we get the rank of 1 on an ace. Yep.
Hmm.
It's not going to do the blackjack evaluation. And that's what's good about having this separation of the two, where the hand, because of the blackjack hand, evaluates the blackjack value. Now, yes, if our card class was a blackjack card class, the get value in there would have actually done the system already, would have converted it for us. So the get rank in a blackjack card would have given us the blackjack value, not the actual rank of the card. Because our card, we made it not blackjack specific. That's why it works well here. If it was a blackjack specific card, we'd have to do extra work to make sure we were checking the rank and not the value. We have to do extra effort. So this works well. Wait a minute. Get rank is it? Get rank's a number, right? Yeah. Okay, good. I was gonna say it's on a string, right? I don't have to do dot equals, do I? No. Okay, good. It's it. Yeah. Append. So we're gonna append. Since now we can split. We can split. We're gonna do /n for dot split, and I forgot the space there. All right. So that's that. Output to string. And at the moment, yes, understand. Now here we have this. So, okay, cool. So we have all this. Get available actions hand. We just have to now double check to make sure that wherever we're using this, we check it. So it's been a weekend. Some of you may not remember where it is. I already reviewed it with Mats, so we know where this is actually getting called. We can always check other places. We can look in main and see, not there. We do have this get action being called. Well, let's check that. There it is. At the same time, if you ever want to find it, you can always double click on it and just look anywhere for a highlight. You see there, it's highlighted there. And you can see here, it's actually highlighted green. So if I click away, by the way, we currently have the red because it wants the hand class. So I'm going to put that in for now. So I'm just put hand for the moment, just to get rid of the red. But now you can see no highlights here. If I double click on something though, and it's in there, we'll suddenly see this green highlight. And so that's a really cool little trick there. Green is showcasing that it's there. The blue, if I remember, is the to-dos, which is really nice. And then if you also click near a curly bracket, I feel like it does show the curly bracket. I think that's what that is right there.
Yeah, it does. It's line 40, highlights line 55.
That little tiny blue thing, that kind of piece there, and that one right there, I think that's what it's showing.
It's also showing you in line 56 where the 55 where the last one is.
Well, yeah, it highlights it too. But yeah, we don't
highlights
get the
both
green.
of those.
Oh, yeah, I think that's not what that is. That's the indent there. Yeah, that's another if statement there. So yeah, these are showing the bracket, the nesting, I believe. Anyway.
And if it's gray, it means it's not being used in the code
I
whatsoever.
don't know what that green is there. I don't know why that's there. Anyway, it's fine.
The other one is if it's gray, it's not being used
Color. Oh yeah,
anywhere.
it also makes it yellow. That's what it is, right? See, there's yellow, 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 yellow. So that's the trick it does for the brackets, right? Yeah, if you highlight something, it'll put a green marker on your sidebar and highlight it in a light green. At least my color. Freddie, I know you do a different color syntax, so it might not be green for you. But it highlights it in a certain color, the other versions of it. Not saying it's the same one per se, but it does highlight every time it sees that. So no, let's do one final check. Can't remember if it does that. So I highlight this one. Okay, so actually that's really good for IntelliJ. It does highlight that instance. Notice how it didn't highlight this output. So I double clicked it. It's only highlighting the same output that I just highlighted. So
Yeah,
it's intelligent on that.
Yeah, because in your method, you're not using it, so that's why it's grayed.
Well, I'm just showing the highlight system. So I double clicked on it. It's only highlighting that version of output. It's not going to highlight this version. What's that, Keith?
Because it's local to the method, right?
Yeah, it's using
Yeah.
scoping. Yeah, it's highlighting that specific instance of that item. So it's not just highlighting that word. If you want to do that, that is the Command F or Control F. And that'll find all instances of that string of text, not the variable. So put that back there for a second. If I put output here, now it's going to highlight in green all the versions of output, regardless of whether they're the same or not. It's not going to look for instance specifics or scope specific types. Those are your little
Hey,
tricks for finding stuff.
Cliff, I'm having a minor issue. It's not throwing an error, but it's my code's behaving kind of. I think it's IntelliJ is actually behaving kind of oddly.
Okay, I'm not sure, we haven't run anything yet, but let's see. Show it.
Sure. So that thing's in the way. I refactored the card class to do get rank instead of get value. But when I went into the hand class, when I try to change these to go to get rank, it says it doesn't exist and it still says get value. I run this and it still works, which is bizarre. But I'm very confused.
It's weird.
'Cause if I remove these and get a
Is it-
suggestion, get value is still here,
That's weird.
even though yeah, sure. Select it,
card
please.
tag
There we are.
Seems like get rank's not being called.
there. Yeah.
Can you
Which
check
is,
your hand class.
But it works.
yeah,
Close
and
the-
I hover,
so close, yeah, I think
And
it's
then in
intelligent.
get
Close
value,
that file and reopen that
right there,
file.
in get value on line 67. You're still calling card.get value instead of card.get rank.
but it says
Yeah.
right here that it's in card.
No, on line 67.
No, 67?
Yeah, that should be card.get rank, I believe.
This should also be card.get rank, but all this works. I run it and it works perfectly fine.
What I'm saying, so close your file and reopen it.
Got it. Okay, I'll do that.
No, not the whole thing, just hand.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Just that
what?
hand file.
Oh, just hand?
Yeah,
Okay,
try that. I want to see, I want to try to do the minimal first before we just say, oh, reboot the whole IntelliJ.
got it. All right.
Yeah, that's
So
easy.
I
I want to try to
will
reduce that because that takes a little while to
close-
reboot. So just close hand and reopen hand. God dang it.
Nope.
Why is it caching not, you're not noticing that?
This
What
is so
happened?
bizarre.
Does it not allow you to change line
So-
67 to get rank?
Let's just try changing them all. Yeah, let's just try changing it all. So highlight get value there and do rename and refactor. So
Gotcha.
do that. You didn't need the decimal, but okay, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Name.
Then do, yep, so get rank. Trying to see, that's fine. And just leave it. Now it's happy. Okay.
And it before it was yelling.
Maybe when you
Finally realized
refactored,
it.
Matt, you
Okay.
forgot to click select all on refactor.
No, I definitely did.
User error.
It's all good.
Because on the first one, it's auto selected. On the second one, it's
Yeah.
not auto selected.
Let's make sure this still runs. Go on. Poor processor. Here we are. Oops. 1, 1, 1, 2. Okay, that works. Cool. Thank you.
Cool. All good. Yeah, that was just definitely an IntelliJ thing. Weird.
I thought I was going crazy.
Nope, you're good. It definitely was something that was having an issue on you. So anyway. So now for the moment, yes, we added hand here. Now it's happy. Again, the way I was finding it, my main focus there, you highlight the item, it's going to show you all uses of that in the file. And then of course you can also just find them as well. I feel like there is where is it? I know there's a way to, there it is, find in files. So you can also find usages. This is what I was looking for. So you can also click on this to see where else is it being used. And you can see that here it's saying get action is being used on line 62. Whee, right there. So there's other tools as well. So I feel like, Matt, this again, not to pick on you on this one, but I hope this will help everybody. But like in your situation, this would have helped. If you were able to do the find usage, you would have seen that you're calling this in get action hand. You can double click it to then jump to it. You then might have been able to notice you had access to hand already. So
Right.
this is why I wanted to showcase this item for everyone to make sure that you have that. Yeah, you can always see where you're using any method because especially once it's no longer gray. You click find usage to see where it's being used. So you can see, cool. What do I have access to? Can I send this parameter? I have hand here. Let's send it already. So we're good. The only thing that we're gonna have a counter here is that currently our max is not dynamic. Is it? That's something that we have to, it's gonna be a little more difficult to figure out. That's 4 for the moment, just for the fun of it, to make it fully everything. But that is something we have to figure out. Can we make this? What's my one for? Dynamic. And there is a way we can do it. I'll tell you in 1 second how we're gonna do it. Let's just make sure this works. We'll play with a normal hand first, but then we're gonna discuss it in a second. I don't know why that's there. So yeah. Have 6 ace. That doesn't look right. I have a 17-6 ace and I can still double. So it says I can split, huh? Oh, it doesn't.
No,
Oh,
it doesn't say you can
I'm
split. It says you
losing my
can double.
mind. I'm reading split and I don't even see it there. Why am I saying split? I saw 4 actions. That's why I got confused and I forgot that quit is a thing we can do. Well, like I can hit, stand, and I cannot double, which is perfect, right? Right now, we're not taking bets, so the double is never not going to show, right? Well, we can switch this a little bit. We know that our balance is 1,000. So what I'm going to do just to test this is I'm going to go into my hand class and I'm going to default the bet to 2,000. So 1,000 is fine actually. So that currently my balance isn't enough to cover the double bet. So I can test to see if the double can be fixed. Reboot. John would have fun with. That's a unique name or fairly common name that we can see. We don't have enough balance to be able to cover it, and so the double doesn't show up. Let's reset that. 0. Play. We'll go ahead and now test the is first turn system by just hitting once. There's a heads up, Colin. All right. Go ahead and hit. You can see that after we hit, the double goes away. All right, so how many times do we want to play to see how we can get if we can get a double?
Yeah, you won.
Oh, I did. Nice. I should have doubled. Damn it. Which just to do one more final test on that, let's go ahead and double, make sure it doesn't let me double again. And if we remember correctly, our current system is set up that anything other than hit instantly ends your turn anyway. So do remember that. So double does end, but that's not because we set it to. It's just because if anything other than a hit ends the turn.
Testing
remember that.
purposes, could we display the hand again?
We could, yeah.
Just
We
to see
probably
if the
should.
card is added?
Yeah, that's a, well, no, I can tell you that it doesn't, but yeah, we can definitely do that to confirm that it didn't. So. That one. Well, not that. Yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you. Bless you.
Bless you.
Yeah, I knew there was one more in there.
Did you hear it
No
the
more
first time,
blessings.
Cliff? Come on.
Yeah.
Need to take a break.
Yeah. I'm on average 2 to 3 sneezes easily. Yeah. I think my max is 9. I swear that if you sneeze 10 times in a row, you die. It's the kill code to the human body.
No, I hate that. I get into those sneezing fits. I'm like,
yeah.
really? I haven't sneezed in like 3 weeks. Now you're gonna do it all in one shot.
Yep.
You had them all built up.
Oh yeah. So let's do X out. Display hand. We'll just do that. We don't need to display the value again. Let's display the hand this time. Let's do that.
No,
See, it
21.
does not.
And you got blackjack. Oh,
Yep. Oh, damn, I did.
well, you got the ace though. You didn't get real.
I didn't get
Not
the
add a
pure
card?
blackjack, but I definitely
Yeah.
got a blackjack. So
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wait,
That's
we didn't
impressive.
do the logic to add a card yet, right?
not yet. No, we haven't done any of that logic yet. So we haven't actually handled the actions yet. Right now, we're just displaying whether or not we can do the action and allowing the player to pick that action. But we're not actually performing anything based on the action yet. We definitely need to add that. But yeah, for the moment, we are dealing with that right now this way. So we at least handle it. We are allowed to pick the double now on the right situation. And when we do hit, we can't pick double again. Now, again, we need to test the split system. So who's up for playing this over and over again until we get our first natural double?
Can't you
Just
just
natural
use the
pair.
rig deck?
What was that, Jim?
Can't you just use the rig deck?
All right, yeah, that thing, don't we? Yeah, we can just cheat the
I
system
don't
and
mind
give us a
spending,
pair right away.
I'm spending till 11 o'clock at night trying to get a double.
Yeah, we don't want to try to get a natural pair. Let's go ahead and just get one naturally. Blah, blah. We'll do that 6-6 we gave us last time. So 6 and 6, 3. We have our pair, and boom, it pops up. Let's test, make sure we only get the hard pairs. So we'll go ahead and do a Jack King and make sure it doesn't let us split. So that's gonna be Mike, because he was the one who brought up the concept of hard and soft. So nice. So we'll do an 11 and we'll do a 13. So with Jack King, we should not be allowed to split. And it does not show up.
Can we test ace and ace?
Ooh, good question. Let's do that one. Again. 1, 1, and 1, 2. The split shows. Woo! So looks like our system is behaving as intended. The last thing we do want to check, we want to fix a bit quick, is to update the system here to be able to determine this. And so this one's a little trickier, and I might not do that in class. This might be an extra item that you guys can dig into, because I'm not too worried about validation myself. But this exercise is not what this project's about. There's a couple ways we can do this. The main thing to remember is that Java, though, can only return a single item. You cannot return multiple items. So one thing you could do here is turn this into an array of prompts. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then print it out to the system that way. So you can turn this into a list of items, and then you can count the list to see how many options you have. You can do a dot size on the list for the string. So this could be converted into a list, and then you print it out. And you can also use string builder here to then build based on the list. I do believe string builder can build a string from a list, or can print the list naturally without needing to do any sort of logic to iterate through the list. So that I'm going to probably leave you guys to look into how to do that. That would be probably the thing I would look into, is to turn this into returning a string array, with each line being on its own item. And that way I can just count it -1, and that's my max. So 0, 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3. -1 is 2. That's my max 2. 1, 2, 3. Add this, append. So push to the list, or add to the list, right? So we can add each string to the list of available options. So get available options can be a string list. We can do the dot size to get how many options we have, and that can be our max here. Again, that's one way of working it, building that. Again, that's beyond the scope of what we want to care about now. That's kind of stuff we've already discussed earlier, so I'm not going to get into that today. Validation is not really something that I want to get into too much of, because that's something that you guys can learn about, and it's nothing too complex and nothing new. We're just repeating original stuff. So I want to get more into the other items like the logic. So if you do try to build this and you do run into problems, of course, feel free to on either before, after class, or during like the assignment sections of class, or even on office hours, you can ask me about that process if you decide to build that system. All right. If you do build in the validation for this system from here and you're running into problems, you can always bring that up during a office hours moment. Sound good?
Could you just make a local variable and have that just,
There's something I would have to constantly update.
well, I mean, it would just be like in the if statement, you'd be just allowing expanding the number to be able to go into here.
It has to be scoped though for both functions, so it would have to be a field in the class.
Yeah, like in the
Player
top,
would not have the.
declare it to be able to go through all this.
That's something I could do. I could definitely do that. And so I might do that for now, just to be the quick version of it. I don't like it because it's a weird field. It doesn't really belong to the player.
It just like, I would call it options or action options. That's pretty good too.
No, defaults to 2. Even though we don't even do that, because we're just going to have to default it every time we run that method there. So every time we run this method, we're going to initialize it to 2. So actions count equals 2.
2?
Yeah, over here, we're now going to increment by 1.
Oh,
Plus. And right here, we just do actions count. We're just resetting it every time we ask the options. We can run the test each time. That's all. Yeah, damn semicolons. And just to show that this works, that's the easiest version of it, but I don't like it because I have to reset it every time here, but it does make it easily accessible, and I do get it. So it does work. Test. God dang it. Dang it, I did that wrong. Okay, I can do 5 and it doesn't let it. 2 allows. Wait, no, 2 it didn't allow. Why didn't it allow 2? What? Wait a minute. Where am I thinking? Oh, around there it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not getting the error. Wait, what's going on?
Is it because it's calling every time and it's only doing 2?
Huh? Wait a minute.
Oh, I guess the simplest things are not always the easiest to do.
No, that was just weird what just happened there. It took the 0. I know what happens. It's not getting updated until it already has it here. Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that should update it though. It should change it. I don't think it evaluates that. Run the method first, I think. It should run the method first because it shouldn't run the whole line of code until the methods run first. But if it goes left to right, I'm wondering if it evaluates this first and then runs this. It might evaluate first before it runs this and updates it because it might go left to right. Because it sees this first, gets the value, and then runs this, which then changes the values. That might be what's happening. But let's test. Because yeah, the max was 2 and it's non-inclusive, right? Our max is non-inclusive, so 1 should have worked. So let's do that quick. I want to do a quick test here. I'm very, very curious on this now. This is what's good. It's good to know what's going on here. So, and hold on. Stop. Main.
Change decks.
Just there we go. Play.
So just for shortcut purposes, this might be helpful. I have 2 duplicates of line 7. Well, I have a duplicate of line 17 on the line
Yeah.
below it, one assigned to standard deck and one assigned to rig deck, and I just comment them in and out.
Yeah, I've done that before. I just didn't realize I'd be switching back as much as I have been because you guys have been doing really good questions here. So yeah, it might be nice for me to add that now. Oop. Weird how it goes to the new line every time I do that. That I didn't notice. No, and so if I'm right, 3 should not work, 2 should not work, but 1 should. No? 0 does. What's going on here? Oh, right, no, because again, I did initialize it to 0 at first. Yeah, it's not updating it. Yeah, it's not updating it. But if to confirm that my theory is correct, it's taken the actions count of 0 because we don't initialize it to 2 here. It's not hitting this line, so it's initialized to 0. If I do this,
Why is it initialized to 0 and not, I mean, to 2 and not 3?
right
Even though
here.
you're using 0 as an option?
No, well,
Isn't
kind of.
that still an option though?
This line here, when you initialize an int, not an integer, an int, ints cannot be null. So when you initialize this, instead of it being null or undefined, ints are 0 by default. So doing this is equivalent to doing this. There's no difference between this
Right,
line
but my
and this
question
line.
is, you said you wanted to set it as 2, correct?
Right here. I said it
Why
here.
would you
What's
set it
happening?
as 2 and not 3? Because isn't 0 technically 1 in this instance?
Well, again, it's the max number we are allowed to put in, which is 2. So 0 up to 2 inclusive. What's happening though is that it's going left to right. It's getting this, which is currently 0, putting 0, then running this, which then updates actions count. It's already evaluated actions count by the time it hit this line. So it doesn't reevaluate it when it gets updated, is my theory. And to confirm this, simply doing this should fix it.
Gonna put an equal
That's
sign?
prompt. Hold on, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I also got the semicolon, so I still had a whole bunch to add to that line still. One space there, good, okay. This should theoretically fix that problem because now it's going to evaluate the get available actions first, and then it'll update actions count before it gets evaluated. So confirm 4 should not work, but 3 should. And it does. So that's actually interesting that Java does that. So I think JavaScript will read the line, do functions first, and then do variables. It seems like Java goes left to right and evaluates it as it sees it. So it saw the action count first, evaluated it, which was currently 0, then ran the get available actions.
So you would just have to change this get int by moving the output, like moving those numbers.
I actually wanted to test that. So yeah, I'm going to do one other quick little change here. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to go into my console for a second. And I'm going to change something here, which is going to break some of the code, though, I think. Dang it. Maybe not. Ooh. Don't want to name it. I want to change the signature. There it is. Yep, change signature. I want to max. I want to move max down one so that the prompt goes first at the top. I'm going to put prompt at the top. Refactor, move it all around so that the get available actions is evaluated first, and then available actions account is then evaluated after. That should fix it too. And that's this understanding order of operations. So this 4 should not, 3 should. Boom. Yep, then that proves it. It goes left to right and evaluates each item as it sees it in this list. So that's actually really cool. At least I think it is.
Just a side note, just a way side note, in the Dart language, you can set up your methods like this to
In
be
the
able to.
what language?
In Dart, you can
Dart.
actually.
Oh,
You can
I thought
actually
you said
set it up
dark.
that you can have your constructor in any way you want it. You just tell it which it is when you're initializing it. You can have it as order operation, or you can have it unordered, and it will
Interesting.
still work.
Interesting. Well, again, there's no really order of operations here. It's just left to right. It just
Yeah,
raises
left
the
to
line
right.
left to right and goes in order from left to right. And so by just switching the order of how these items are getting evaluated, this gets evaluated first, then this gets evaluated after it's been updated by this guy, which is really cool. That's happening in the same line. And something is just a small change like that can just change how your code runs. And that's part of why I wanted to showcase this, because this is where, again, that's a logic error. Everything seemed like it should have worked fine. No error messages, but it was just misbehaving weird. And so this is kind of the process I go through to validate and confirm things and test things. You run things, you evaluate, you try things, and you see what happens, and you have to make those deductive reasonings and those logical evaluations. And sometimes this just pull things out and move them around and just see what happens. There's not always a definite guarantee of what's happening, but it's just understanding your code and trying out things to see what's happening so you can slowly see what's actually happening under the hood. It's about the flow of code. All right. And sometimes, yeah, just taking things out of inline and moving it up. So taking that the method and moving it out can help us to see what's happening. Hopefully that was interesting for people.
That was pretty
Nice
cool.
Bug session.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's definitely not somewhere someone would think to like rearrange things.
No. And again,
It makes a lot of sense, though. That's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't think that was something Java would have done. I thought my original code was gonna be fine. It's like, wait, that's not working. It should. But cool, that worked. Actually, and honestly, this is a final item. Who told me to do this action count thing here? Was that Jim?
Hey, yeah.
Thanks for that, because that brought a nice little side lesson there. I did not want to do that, but now I'm happy I
I
did.
didn't know that actually didn't do that either.
Yeah, I did not want to do that, but I'm happy I did now. So yay. See, this is why it's good to ask questions, people, and make comments, because we can find cool little little items to just teach you a little more and get you a little extra knowledge. So
And here's
feel
Cliff,
free to ask
and here's
questions.
Cliff saying, kind of really don't want to do that, but okay, we'll just do it now anyways.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Things. I'm glad I did it, because I was not going to do this, and we would have missed this whole little side item. So yeah, feel free to ask questions, make comments, ask to do things. You never know what you're gonna find. So you get to have fun stuff like this happen. All right, so now we have all this. So now we have the ability to get the actions we want from the player. So now a player can give us the action they want and only enter an action that they are allowed to enter. We can see here that I couldn't enter the 4 because it wasn't showing. But if we did, just for the fun of it, let's go back quick and just sanity check, put back the rig deck. Right here, we saw we could not put the 4 when the split didn't show, but let's make sure that when the split does show that I can enter 4. Dang it. So 4 is there, and I'm allowed to enter 4. So our code is valid. Our system is working right where the available actions and the get int system is updating as required. The current thing we have, though, of course, is that we're not handling the actions correctly. So now we need to figure out how do we map. So let's go back to our plan of attack. What time are we at anyway? Oh, good, we're only at 8 o'clock. So we can do a little bit of this. I actually didn't open that yet because I didn't know if we were gonna get to it. Good, we're making progress. 12, blackjack, plan of attack, not Yahtzee, blackjack, thank you.
What?
Animal. Okay. Oops. All right, so hand has everything we want. We have cards, bet, player, display hand, get value. We have our everything in the actor. Our player here is now working. Do we have everything here that we needed? I think we did, right? If we take a look at our player again, the one thing I think we are missing technically one thing, which is what? Oh, we did have get bet. Good. So we have get bet. We have all our methods we want. Good. We have the methods here that we wanted. We have the methods in dealer, card counter. Like I said, we'll see if we have time to do that later. We're not going to do that yet. This actually might be the thing we might do over the weekend. Have you guys implement one additional actor interface that does some sort of logic. So you guys can come up with what you want. You can do the card counter if you want. You can also do the one like logical one. That could be a nice little challenge for the weekend. We might do that. That kind of what I'm looking for. We have our hand class now that does all this stuff in it. So the next one looks like is going to do is going to be table now. We're going to bring in the table where now we can kind of run the flow of the game. And again, we're going to do a table with a single player to start with. You do a single player and maybe a single dealer too. We'll do a 1v1 kind of game to start. Single player, single dealer. And now we can run through the process now. We can actually run through, ask the player what they want to do. And once the player is done, ask the dealer what they want to do. And eventually even see what who wins, right? So let's start setting that system up because that's going to help us. And then we can start adding in the logic for what a hit does, what a stand does. Because the first thing we do is let's just create a player and a dealer and see who wins initially with no actions taken, right? That can be the first part of our game. Set up the game where we have a dealer and a player, give them each 2 cards and see who wins, right? Then that can be our first instance of the table. All right. Where should the table class go? What package?
Blackjack.
Yeah, I think blackjack as well.
It's gonna be a blackjack specific table, right?
Hmm.
This is our blackjack table. I like that. Table. All right, if we take a look at our system, we know we want hands and actors, so we're going to just do a single hand to start. Do player hand. Yeah, we're gonna keep this simple to start. Something simple to start. It needs a name, so we need a new name. We need the actor for it, don't we? Right? Yeah, actor. So a holder. So we do need at least one player. So let's go ahead and do actor, player. Yeah.
You name them both player.
Oh, you're right. Oh, right. I actually don't want to do that. Oh no, we do want that, don't we? Do we want that? Not for the moment. No, for the moment, let's just do this to keep it simple. For the moment, again, we'll adjust things as we need it. If we do need access to that actor outside of it, we can bring it out later. Yeah, we'll try to keep this as simple and as small as possible to start. Ow.
Oh, cute.
Says, according to our plan of attack, we have display bets, which we're not going to get into first. We don't need to deal with bets yet still. We have a display table method, which probably makes sense. We need that. What else we need though first? That's probably the first thing we need to do in the table class. We bring them, so yeah, I guess we don't really need to do any sort of construction yet, actually. Oh no, wait, I feel like I'm missing something in the table. There's something missing there. What else do we need? So we have our players, we have our dealer, our player. Any other ideas what we might need on the table? So looking at a table, we know we have a seat for
Yeah,
the
deck, right?
dealer. What was that?
A deck.
Ah, yes, the game needs a deck, doesn't it? We do need a deck for the table, on the table.
Well, it's a virtual deck.
It still is a virtual deck. New standard deck. Good. Anything else we need for the table? So again, we're picturing the blackjack table in our head. We have the seat for the player, we have the seat for the dealer, we have a deck on the table. Is there anything else we need to play the game?
A drink.
I think the player has one. I don't think the table needs it. I'm not putting that on the table. It's in my hand. I'm drinking that right now.
We're not doing bets, right? So we don't need to have.
Not right now. Yeah.
We don't need
Not
that.
yet.
That would be on the table, but we're not doing it.
I was gonna say
A
luck.
revolver.
Yeah, but that's.
What was
I
that?
was
I
gonna say
said a
luck, but that's
revolver.
not. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
I don't really know if anyone's interrupting anybody because it's just timing. So let's go. Manny first. I think Manny's making a joke. So
Yeah, so I would say a revolver, and so like every time you lose a hand, you like play a game of Russian roulette.
there you go. We will not be adding that to our table. Sergio, what you got for us?
No, I mean I was gonna say luck, but that's not a physical thing, so you can't. add it to the table.
Now, what's funny about that though is you could try to implement luck into these types of games. You could find a way to do that, which could be interesting to do that. And I'm sure that there are certain like video games that implement luck on some of these, because I'm sure that in video games you notice that sometimes after losing a lot, you'll suddenly win a lot. And so what they do is they won't actually shuffle the deck. What they'll have is a luck type deck. And what that does is the player's luck can change the weight of cards, of the likelihood you'll get a certain card. Look up randomized weighted randomness. So weighted randomness. So in a normal random thing, every single item in the list has a one instance chance of being pulled. In a weighted system, certain cards have or certain items have a higher chance of being picked. And I've done that before, and we'll actually end up doing that later on, probably later on as we get into more complex things. What happens is how that works, and this will happen later on in the class. You'll see this more is when I'm asking for people to display things, but we're not going to have everybody go. What I will do is I'll have the list where everybody's in there once at start. I'll randomize, I'll spin the wheel, I'll pick one person. That person gets removed from the list, but everybody else who wasn't selected, their name goes in a second time. That person who was selected goes back in once. So everyone has their name in there twice, while the person who was just picked is only in there once. I spin again. Let's say in this example, Sergio, you were picked first. Everyone else is in there twice. Second time we spin, Matt gets selected. Matt's name gets reduced to 1 instance. Sergio goes up to 2. Everyone else now has 3 instances of their name in there. So you can see how those people with 3 instances have a higher chance of being picked, right? That's a weighted randomness system.
This explains the Wheel of Doom.
Keith, like he keeps waiting my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will actually show you guys when I start putting that in. You will see me start doing that. So Jim knows that because I've done it to his cohort before. So Jim and Amelia have seen that before.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do start doing that later on. We start getting into items where it's not something that I can have everybody do. I'm having you solve an individual problem. So I'm going to have you run. So yeah, you'll start seeing that come in later on in the class. We're going to start doing weighted randomness for single tasks. So, yep. Cool. Dex, we got that. So yeah, the weighted randomness, that's how you could add luck into the system by, if you see that the player has high luck, you could take the cards that they want that would give them a 21 and give them a higher weighting. So there's a higher chance they'll get picked. They still may not, they'll get a higher chance. When if they have low luck or bad luck, you can make the bad cards that would cause them to bust have a higher weightedness so that they're more likely to get picked. So, oh yeah, there's cool things in there.
Implementing the Wheel of Doom in this.
What's that?
Implementing the Wheel of Doom in our blackjack.
You can, we're not. That would be what is it, Manny's Russian roulette kind of thing. What's worse, the revolver or the Wheel of Doom?
Definitely the Wheel
Anything's
of
better
Doom.
than playing Despacito in the middle of blackjack.
Technically, it's the same thing. Like technically, it's literally the same system.
There you go. I don't think we need anything else on our table to play the game right now, the way we want to play it. So I think this is good to start. Let's go ahead and do play around. We'll just do a single round of blackjack. So we're going to do public. We'll start with void, so we don't know what we need. Play around. So let's think, what are the steps in a round of blackjack? So step one of blackjack, what do we do?
Deal the 2 cards.
Deal cards. Good. What's step 2 in the game? In a single round.
Make a bet.
That would happen before the deal cards.
Hmm.
And we're not going to do that yet, so we'll mark it as 0.
For the version you want, all we gotta do is deal the cards and then check and see who won.
In this case, yes, we're just going to do that. So that's true. So let's see who won. Let's start with that. Then we'll add in the individual play stuff. So we're not going to take bets. So deal cards. What are the deal cards we do? There is one thing we do have to do first, though. What is it? We have a deck, but what haven't we done yet?
Shuffle it.
We haven't shuffled it, right? Yeah. So at the same time, what I'm also going to do here is I'm actually not going to initialize here because I want a new deck every round. So I'm actually going to do initialize the deck every round. So new standard deck. And here, go ahead and say, okay, so we're not going to take bets here. We're going to deal the cards. Should the play round deal cards, or is that hinting at a method? What do we think? Separate method or just implemented here for now?
I think a separate method.
If we think about it, is there going to be more that's going to happen here? So for the fun of it, we'll say 2.1. Instead of seeing who won, what's the alternative we're going to do? What happens after you deal the cards in the full game? With the player and dealer. So again, we're still at one player, one dealer right now. So after you deal the cards, what happens in the normal game?
Well, you would have to decide if you're standing or hitting, but if you're going to be just hitting unlimited, then you want to know.
It's simple.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Player's turn. What's the next thing that happens?
Dealer's turn.
Thank you. There we go. Dealer's turn. And then the fourth item would be
It's actually the 5th. I was gonna say, wait a minute, am I missing something?
see who won. These are also A3, A4, A5, because we're skipping this one. So actually, yeah, 2, 3. It's going to be our beta version. So alpha and then beta. So the B goes first, going to do this tip right now, but later on, we're going to add more items. And these are probably all methods too, right? So we're definitely seeing that our play around is a kind of a control method. It's going to just call other methods to make sure that the round plays in the right order. But we're going to have each method inside the round, or each step in the round is going to be its own method. That way, if we ever want to change how we deal the cards, or how we control the turns, or how we control who sees who won, we can go to that method instead of having to find it inside this giant play around method, right? This is how we can simplify a play around method, because a lot of you guys in the previous games we did, your play method was the one that was most commonly the non-objectified, non-S solid, not following the solid principle of S, or single responsibility principle. It was most commonly the play method. And so this, or the play round or round method. And so this is how you can help to find those breakdowns by just giving yourself very generic steps of what this item does. So you can then see, well, this is definitely a method we can run. A take bet method, a deal card could be a method, is definitely a method because it's complicated depending on how many players we have. We can see who won. We got the player's turn, dealer's turn. So this can help you to break down how many methods you need for a play round, which is more of a control method. It's going to control the order and control the flow. So some people call it control method, some people call it a flow method. So those two terms are interchangeable. So let's go ahead and deal cards. So private, Void. Again, we don't know if we're returning anything yet. So we start with void. Deal. How do we deal?
Check that draw.
We
Is
deck
it?
that draw, but what do we do with it? Draw a card. Now what?
Come on, people.
Display
Go.
it.
Who's built this before? So come on, I want to hear from some of the voices I haven't heard much yet.
Display it.
Add it.
You don't want to display it. We want to add it somewhere, right? Yeah. Travis, where am I adding it to?
You're gonna add it to the hand list cards.
So we don't have a hand list. We have an individual player and a dealer this time.
Oh.
We're going to create the list later. Yeah. But does anyone remember how you actually deal cards in blackjack? How are cards dealt in blackjack?
Isn't it one down and one up?
We're not doing that specific yet. But what's the order? Who gets cards in what order?
Player first and dealer second.
Now, did the player get both cards at the same time, or do they get one card, then the dealer gets a card, then the player gets a card, then the dealer gets a card?
I think the dealer gets cards first, doesn't he? So you can decide what you want to do based on his one card.
Is that true? I don't know.
You flip first.
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
I mean, we don't have
mean, you wouldn't-
to
you wouldn't
handle it
decide
specifically
what
like
you
that.
do Without seeing what the dealer has showing.
Yes, the dealer does have to have a card, but you need it. So both players, so both the dealer and you need to have both cards in the casino. So in the casino, at the end of the deal, you have two cards and the dealer has two cards. But in the main thing, once we finish it, the dealer will only have one card showing. Currently, we're going to show both cards. We're playing with hands up. So that's a slight change. But yes, at the end of the draw of the deal, both players, both the dealer and the player should both have two cards. Now, the question is, though, what's the order? So I have the deck in my hand. Am I doing player, player, dealer, dealer? Am I doing dealer, dealer, player, 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 dealer, player, dealer, dealer, player, dealer, player, right? How are we, does anyone actually know the official way of doing it?
So then it would be the player does his full turn or their
What's that?
full turn. The player would do their full turn first.
After the deal.
After the deal, it would
Yes,
go
so-
player
Yeah,
and then the
again,
next
we're still-
player and the dealer's last.
Again, though, we're still dealing with the deal, though, so we don't care about the player's turn yet.
I always thought they did they did player, 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 dealer, player, or if it's dealer, player, player, player.
Oh, I see what you're asking now.
They do one card and then one card.
Yeah,
Right.
you
I don't know
usually,
if I'm right.
Yeah, I think
don't
that's
know if
right.
I'm
I think they just go around once and then go around
Yep.
twice.
yeah.
Yes. I actually am not 100% confident if they actually start with the dealer or a player first. That part I'm actually not sure. I do believe they go clockwise from the dealer if they want they go with the players though. I do believe that is the rule. They go clockwise from the player, left to right, from the dealer facing the players. So I don't know if they give themselves the first card or they go player, 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 dealer, player, 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 dealer, or if they do the dealer first. That part I don't know if there's actually an actual rule on that, and if all casinos do the same. I'm not gonna care about that personally. But at the same time, also, how many cards are we getting?
Yeah, no, you're
So we're
right.
only getting
It's-
2 cards
The
each, right?
dealer gets his hand first.
He does? Okay, so we go dealer, then players, dealer, then players.
It says one card is face up to each player followed by a face down for the dealer. Second card is up to dealt for each player followed by the dealer's card face up. So
And
it looks
again,
like
that part, I don't know if that's considered like full, because some casinos though will deal all the first card face down, with then only everyone one face up. Because again, for card counters, that if a card counter knows that a table is playing all the players face up, that is hugely beneficial to a card player, and they're always going to sit at the last position on the table, because the more cards the card counter sees, the better for them. And so a lot of times what they'll do is they'll deal out the cards and they'll change left to right sometimes so that a card counter can't always succeed all the time. But they very rarely do all cards on the player's face up. So the one that I see most often is one card face down to everyone, one card face up. We're going to go player first. Actually, it really doesn't matter, player deal first, because you're going to see how we do it. The next part of the question, though, that I care about. The main thing, again, is that we want to make sure everyone has one card before we give the second card. That's the key item here. And that's also going to help our logic and our system a little better. It's easier for the logic. So we can give every person the card once and before we give the second card. Now, how many cards are we doing?
2.
So we can do, or count 0, 2, else. Now I'm just gonna do player dot add card dot draw dealer dot add card deck dot draw. Now, reason why this sound looks good though, or really works though, let's say for a train of thought, we know we're gonna eventually do a list of hands, right? We know that this is a hand and this is a hand right now. We put them up here. So how would we change the player, this line here, line 29, into a list? Could we do that? Is this code convertible to, instead of doing player.add cards, to then doing all the players in a list? Could we update this code somehow?
Yeah.
What would be your idea? Yeah, we're not going to do it yet, but just throw it out. What's your idea?
You just do player dot add deck dot draw.
But how do I go to each player in the list though? You know what I'm saying? So we have if we have multiple hands in the list, we have like a players list or a hands list.
Oh, you would have to, well, if it's that, then well.
You have to iterate.
Yeah, can we just
Iterate
do
the
for
list.
each hand in hands, right?
Yeah.
Hand dot add card, deck dot draw. And then after that list here, after that iteration here, we would still do the dealer dot add card if the dealer was still separate, right? So this would still work. We would give all the players a card first, then the dealer. Then all the players get their second card and the dealer. This is here because we know that we're statically gonna give 2 cards each time. You know that count. So that could be here. It's a very specific item, 2 cards each. We give to all the players first, all the player hands first, then we give the dealer. And what's really cool about this system is if we did decide or find out, you know what, actually there is a rule to do dealer first, fixed, right? We can just swap it very quickly and make sure our code then follows the correct format if we want to do dealer first. Matt, you look a little confused. What's going on? I'm not hearing anything.
There we are. My code's having an issue and it's, I don't know what's going on with it.
IntelliJ again?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Blame it on the code.
Bring it on the editor. Yeah.
Oh,
Can I share for a second?
Of course.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
No
So
one should be confused. If you're confused about your code, please share it.
I'm trying to do the player add card deck dot draw and it's underlined in red. Come on, come up, please. And
Well,
it
why are you
says that,
drawing from a deck? Oh no, yes, that's right. Oh, I know
Yeah.
what you did.
What did I
see
do?
it. No, I didn't. Hold on, never mind. Scroll up.
Are you scroll up? Okay.
Wait, hold on. So hover over it. What's it yelling at us for?
it says it requires card game deck card, but it's getting card game card. I don't know what to make of this.
Where's your deck? Your deck is under deck.
Hold on. Let me make sure I know what it is so I can make sure that you're not giving bad advice first. I want to find the solution, the problem first, quick. So let's see, it's saying required type deck.card. Wait, why is the deck there in small d?
Where? Oh yeah,
There, required type
card
small
game
d.
deck. Do I?
Okay, so hold on. Yeah, it shouldn't need a deck.card. It should only need a card. So I think you've imported the wrong item. Why do you have a package called deck? We don't. Do we have a package called deck?
Yeah, he
I don't
does
think
right
we do.
here.
Yeah,
Do-
you do.
do-
But I don't think we do.
Do we
I thought
know?
we changed
We
it.
do. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, we
I-
do. But our card is inside of that. I notice all your packages here are outside of it. So all of
I
these
just
are not
pulled-
in the package.
I pulled this out of your repo, so I don't know how this is all formatted.
That's weird because it should be inside of that, but it's not. Click on this arrow here.
I don't think deck is in the card game.
Oh.
Ah,
Why do I have
Is
two?
it?
I don't know. That's why I'm like confused because you're importing the wrong one. So scroll up a little bit
In
on
where?
on this package here inside a table.
Oh,
So
yeah.
line 3, add small d deck in front of the on line 3.
Oh, line 3. Okay.
So card game dot small d deck. There, that's
Are
it.
you sure that's not on yours too? Because I had that problem earlier too.
No, I don't have that
'Cause
outside.
I just pulled that right from your GitHub.
I don't know because it shouldn't be. Unless no, because I did push it up there.
I don't think I was trying to find your code and you didn't push it on Thursday. If you did, I didn't really see the changes. Or you just didn't merge it up to main.
Same thing on line 4. That should be pulling from the small D deck class as well.
Okay.
Yeah, these guys, like these 4 here shouldn't be here. I don't know why those are there. You honestly just delete those 4. So these 4 can just be deleted. We're not using these at all.
I just have to make sure that this card has all the right stuff in it. Oh, this might actually explain why this get rank isn't working.
That's true.
Oh, because it's pulling it in from that one.
Yep.
What is going on? Okay, so they are both identical. So I
That's
can
why you
get
were
rid of.
having issues. So yeah,
Yeah.
Oh God.
So are these
Let
the
me
4
show
I
you
can get
the
rid
right
of?
card in each one now. So yeah, those
These
4
are-
we don't want. Get rid of those
Okay.
4. So you should have it in the deck package.
You got
Make
it.
sure that it follows what we have. That's what I have. I have a deck package.
Where's my delete? There it
It's
is.
there. And any. Okay, so it's using somewhere. Great.
Yeah, I'll fix it when it figures it out.
Oh yeah, it's probably telling you that like deck and rig deck and standard deck are using it, right? So
Right.
delete Anyway, deck. Then you'll update the other classes. Figure out what that's going on. Because yeah, because the thing is, I can
least
tell you
I
that
keep
that
things
small D
interesting.
deck did pull it down. So small D deck was also pulled from Get as well. So 'cause I don't think you
Right.
created that, did you?
No, I haven't touched
Exactly.
mostly
So
any of
now,
this.
in your card class in deck, we want to make sure we update those things to rank as well because you have it right there. So line 4, refactor value there to
Right.
rank. Yep, select all. Enter. There we go. That's
Okay.
fine now. And then I think everyone's happy so far. Select the
Let me
table for a
just-
second.
Check it out here. Okay, yep. Table.
There looks fine.
Oh, and now this stopped screaming at me. Fantastic. Okay,
Try running it quick, just make sure it still works.
sure.
Come the table's still red though.
Oh, because I just haven't pushed it yet.
GitHub. Yeah,
Yep.
the file name isn't the problem. The underscore is the problem with that.
Why is mine not red?
Again, that's connected to GitHub. So if your file names don't have a color, don't worry about that. That's not a problem or a good thing. It's not a good or bad thing as far as I'm concerned. The things you care about are the underscores under it, the red underscore.
Fortunately, it still works.
Yay,
Cool.
good. Yep, that would be explaining why you had some of the issues though. Your system was conflicted with 2 different cards and decks and stuff. So
Yeah, I noticed that whenever I would instantiate either a rig deck or a standard deck, a little window would pop up asking me which one I wanted, and it would be 2 of the identical things. I didn't know what that was about. I've never clicked that drop down box though, because I assumed that that's where that was. So that explains that.
yeah, very strange. I don't know how that would work because I know I had a package, but did at some point we have to do we move our packages over at some point? I don't remember. All right, I'll have to look back at it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure
It's because you have different branches. So when you
Maybe.
like clone it, it clones like all of them merged together.
maybe it might have been some weird something to look into. 'Cause that could be annoying if that's doing that weird. I'll have to look into that, but yeah, I'm gonna take back over.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No worries. No, definitely can. Yeah, if anyone else has that problem, please let us know. Like I said, don't be afraid to ask for help. That was definitely not on Matt. Definitely something up with that with the code there. Anyway, cool. So we have that now. So now this should work. So we have the draw. We're gonna draw 2 cards each. That deals. Then we have deal. We probably so see who won. Should probably display the table though first, huh? And then see who won, right? So yeah. So that's the method we probably need. If we check our plan of attack does have display table as a method. So let's do it. Display table. All right. So how do we want to display the table?
Lowercase d.
Yeah, not with a uppercase.
We'll use string builder. Thank you. Okay. Dang it. Builder, thank you. All right, so how do we want to display our table? We have another grouping here, so how do we want to display it?
You should probably show the. I think you want to show the player hand.
Well, this is a displayed table just in general. This isn't displaying a table for a specific person. This is just displaying the whole table for everybody. So this is just a generic display
Oh,
table
wait,
method.
when you
not-
say table, you're not talking about a list or something. You're talking about the playing table.
Yep.
This
We're
table
just
right
trying to
here.
show what's on the table. So yeah, the idea of like just showing the gameplay, the game table.
Well, somehow you have to show the cards, the bet.
Mhm. Do we need to show the bet?
Well,
Not right now, probably, because we're not doing bet yet. We could, I mean, that's something we definitely could probably add. So this is again, that idea, like we just want to see the cards on the table. This isn't going to display the values, because again, later on, we won't know the values of all the tick cards, because later on, one card is going to be face down, one card face up, so we won't know the value. So this is just displaying the cards on the table as they are, right?
Yeah,
So now
How do we want to display them? What order do we want
somehow
to display
you
them in?
have to show, I think you want to show okay, we only have one player right now. But
Right now.
eventually,
And
when you
again,
have-
this is going to have multiple players. And again, this isn't player specific. This is just the table in general. So this would be you standing at let's say you're a bystander looking at a table. So this is not for a player specific or an active player specific or an actor. This is just displaying the table as is in full.
So what you at least need to differentiate the dealer and players.
True. We probably need to differentiate the two. But again, the main thing here is just what's the order? How do we want it to look? What do we want it to look like when we display the table?
I think you want to put the player first and then the dealer, no? If
Yeah,
I'm the player, I
players.
would like to see, if I'm the dealer, if I'm a player, I want to see my cards. I want to see what other cards, and then I want to see dealer cards.
But again, we don't want to make this player specific yet. Remember that. This is not for any
I
specific
can't- I
player. This is
can't
just
do
showing
that.
The table.
I don't know how to do that.
But we would wanna see one card from each player, right?
Yeah, we're just showing the whole table, whatever the current status of the
That's what I
table
mean,
is.
like, so looking at the whole table, you would look and you'd see one face-up card for each player.
We don't have that implemented. So in this case, we're just going to
It's all
display the
face up?
table as is. And later
Right.
on, hold on. Later on, if you're, let's say, the third player in the field, you're going to see the face-up values of the other players and everything they did. So if they hit twice, if let's say player 2 hit twice, you're going to see all 4 of their cards. Now, yes, the very first time we display the table in general, yes, in the beginning of the system, at the end of our program, we implement everything. It's going to first show everyone with one face down card, one face up card. But later on, the third player, when the third player's display table method runs, the first 2 players, their cards are going to be all face up, right? So eventually, all the cards will be face up, and especially at the end of the round. So think if we run the same display table method at the end of the round, when everyone's taking their turns, including the dealer, everyone's on their turn, we want to show a fully face up table, right? So you see all the cards that played. So this isn't displaying any sort of specific layout of like cards. It's just displaying the state of the game.
So
Right now, our state of the game is all cards face up. So just be aware of that. Right now, we have no face up, face down differentiation. So that doesn't matter here.
So, I mean, based upon that, then we would show an empty table because we haven't done anything.
No, this time not necessarily. We would have 2 face up cards for both the dealer and the player. I think we're misunderstanding the concept here. I think we're overcomplicating this again, people. Again, where this display table is a bystander looking at the table. So how do I lay that out? How do I want to lay that out?
Looking at a table and just seeing all the cards that are face up.
For this game, yes, we
in
don't have that.
Perspective to the player that has
Yeah.
looking.
Couldn't we just say dealer or dealer card 1, C1 and C2, then player or players, if we want to really consider it for later on, C1, C2, C1, C2, or cards. Here we go, cards. That would be the minimum system, right? Like that would be the minimal system we could do. We could even reverse it. We could have the players at the top. Dang it. We could do players first and the dealer at the bottom. That's not usually how you display it, right? If you think, remember how the table is on a table of blackjack. What's the shape of a dealer of a blackjack table?
Semicircle.
Why is it a semicircle?
Like a curved rhombus.
What?
It's like a curved rhombus, isn't it?
I have no idea what that is. I always thought it was just
Circle.
I'm gonna do a whiteboard, just do right here. So I thought it was always just this.
Half
Right?
circle.
Isn't that a half circle?
Yeah.
I don't know what a rhombus is. I feel dumb
Rhombus?
now.
What is
It's
a
not
rhombus?
popping up.
I
It's
used
not
to know
popping
what
in
a
my head.
rhombus was.
It
Rhombus.
sounds, I know the shape name. I'm just, for some reason, it's not popping in my head.
Rhombus like a square, like a square. Like
Oh, a
thing.
divot for the dealer to sit in. Right. Okay, that's true. Especially if they're expecting a higher. No, that's a parallelogram, or that's not a rhombus. I mean, yeah, I've seen that. You're right. This
Isn't a
another type of
rhombus
table.
also a parallelogram though?
I think a
Technically,
rhombus is a special kind of.
I have
curve.
seen this, like the half
Rhombus is a
donut.
special kind of
Yeah.
square. It's like almost like a
Rhombus is a
Yeah,
parallel.
you did a much better job. That's what I was trying to do.
I have a pen. I have a pen now, so I can do that. I have seen this now, though, for those who want to make sure that the dealer is like right in the center
So
with all
apple
the players
slice?
around them. So that way the dealer
Like a
can
donut?
stand inside the table right here. So yeah, that is a more fancier version. Yes, I definitely think that's fancier. I've seen the half circle, but yeah, I've also seen the half donut too. That is a thing that exists. You're right. We usually have this right here is a common layout if you don't want to spend the extra for that little indent. I'm sure that costs more for a table like that. And why do they do this? What's the layout here? Do we see? Why do they do this? Where are the cards?
The dealer can be at the flat end.
Dealer cards right here, right?
Yep,
Dealer
and the
cards.
players
Dealer
can be
can
around the
see
curve.
everybody.
2,
That's if the dealer
3,
can see cheaters.
4, and 5, right? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The dealer is looking at the players. And so we get the dealer here with the players here. And so we're kind of trying to replicate that here. And so that's why I'm usually doing, no, I can't do that because I'm in that mode. Here we go. So that's why I feel like this is kind of a good layout. The dealer first and the players underneath. We could always try to add some padding here if you want to, but that's going to require additional logic to know how much padding we should put in. But I think this gets us as close to this as we can with a console, right? The terminal. So that's all I was looking for. Just again, from the face down, if you're a non-active participant, this is kind of a standard just layout of the table. So you can get an idea of what the state of the game is.
That's what Elaine said.
Was it?
Yeah, I
I
was.
know
thinking
she
the
was
same
trying to
thing.
say,
Have a
no,
label.
her thing was to be like, I want to see my cards first. So player cards, and then like the dealer's cards and stuff like that. So she was going from a player's perspective. Now, what we can do, of course, later on, after we display the whole table, we can then underneath this display the actor's cards, or the actor's active cards.
Or the active actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later on, we can also add in logic to make sure it does something like this. Instead of doing players, we can just say, we can do that. Later on, we can do this type of thing. Dealer. In our case, sorry, John Wick, remember you guys. And this one can be Cliff.
Clavin.
Yeah.
You spoke, so now you're in it.
Well, that's not me.
And then Jim.
You said something.
Yeah, that's Kayad.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh, dang it. Damn it.
That's Keith's alter ego.
There you go. That's his doppelganger. Like, and then currently how our system is set up, if I did do a split, currently it'll do it like this. We may accept that. So I'll have my cards twice if I just split, because we're gonna append the new hand at the end of the list. So if we iterate through, we'll probably have it show like this. Something we can do later on to adjust it, but for the moment, it's not a big deal, showing that I have two sets just somewhere else on the table. It would be weird to imagine that in a sitting sense, but it's fine. But the idea again is just showing that state of the game, and this is something we can do later on, so we can see who has what. You have the dealer's cards, so all that. So this is something we could, of course, bring in later, but that idea of kind of trying to put this as best as we can, as close to something like this as we can. So, sound good?
You can always add formatting later, like after all the logic.
Of course.
Make it like
Right now, we're
look
just
like
going to, yeah, exactly 100%. For the moment, we're just going to go ahead and keep it simple with put append. Sure. Is it dot display hand? And
So can you just continually append instead of, oh, because it's string builder, right?
Yep,
That's why you have to do
exactly.
it instead of concatenating.
Exactly. And that
Okay, I
way
don't
it,
use that often.
it adds it correctly and adds it rightly and does it more of a programmatic system so that it merges the systems in a more accurate way. So this is
Are
the
you
way
still
they
able
recommend
to
doing
use
it.
concatenation with the string
You
builder? or
can,
no?
yeah, you can
Okay.
definitely do it. They just don't recommend it with that. So I can do
I
this.
think, yeah, because I think if you do it, it'll say that you should add an append to it.
Okay.
Yep. See, string concatenation as argument. It's
Replace
recommending
chain
you
with
don't.
append.
So, yep. Yep, this way it can handle things in a more efficient sense. Because how how Java actually concatenates strings is actually massively inefficient and can be bad. And memory-wise, it's not conducive memory-wise because you're adding two string objects together. This thing, it actually adds the two string objects in a correct way to make sure that we end up with one object in the end, a single object, not a combination of two objects. So it's massively inefficient to do the concatenation. That's why they brought an append in the string builder system to make sure we're maximizing our efficiency in the system. So if you want to look like in a more advanced developer, use append. If you use concatenation, that usually will not lose you points in a resume, in a interview or something like that. Using string builder.append will earn you bonus points.
We'll
It just
get you
makes
a
look
job.
less. Yeah, exactly. It makes you look less and less like a student. Like I said, my goal here is to make you look less like a student as best I can. But of course, yeah, if you use concatenation, you're not going to get in trouble for that at all. Just this
You're a
will, of course,
student,
make you
get
look-
out of here.
You just want to make it look like you have the least amount of growth that they need to deal with. So the more you look like an already seasoned developer, they're like, we have to teach this person way less. They're already kind of coding the way our current developers code, which is great. So that's what we're trying to do. So there, and I could continue to do the dot appends here, but what I'm going to do, since I want to go to the new line, I'm going to do another output dot append, a separate one, just to make sure that that's separate line. So I can see that that line was the dealer. This line is going to be the player. So when I'm ready to switch this to multiple players, I can switch this line only to the iteration of the player list. And this line can stay the way it is. So that's why I'm doing it this way. I could totally just continue adding the dot appends for the player stuff, but I want to do that separate lines. I know this line is going to convert to a iteration to the player, to the hands. So we'll do singular now because we know we only have one player at the moment. We can change it later. We don't need another /n because this is gonna be the end of it. So do that, and I'm gonna just return. Okay. Yeah, dang it. Yeah, we do want to return. So display table, or we don't have to return. We can just actually S out this. There we go. Oh, yeah, I don't have to convert it. I think that is allowed because I think output has the toString method, which is fine. Why is it yelling at me now? Really? Is it because I'm not returning it as an item?
It just added concatenation.
Yeah, you annoy the shit out of me sometimes.
It's
Since we're
because
not
you've been
returning it,
practicing
apparently.
with the append.
Guys,
Did you say something about efficiency there, bud?
Apparently, since we're not returning the string builder, it wants to just do string.
Because IntelliJ doesn't like you.
I mean, I like string builder better. I don't.
Agreed. I'm just now I'm
was
starting
like-
to
I was
question
like,
my
hell
reasoning
yeah.
for string builder. Now I'm not sure why we want it now.
maybe IntelliJ gets better because it's less typing.
Maybe. I don't even know anymore. I need to do more research of why it recommends string builder sometimes. Whatever.
Well, it's like you said, the memory and stuff, right?
It does look
So,
better.
yeah, I don't know anymore. I
String
definitely agree that
builder
it
looks more
but
impressive.
yeah, string builder, yeah, definitely looks more impressive. So I'm gonna keep string builder because I want you guys learning string builder.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Well, Cliff, what if you return it? Do you think
Wait a
it would still
second,
recommend that? If you returned it instead of doing an S out?
Oh, yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, true. Let's do that.
Wait a second, though. I'm looking at this code here. Output to string builder, right?
Hold on. Hit. Also, an iteration occurring, which is probably why it's saying that. Actually, now that I think about it.
Well, I'm looking at this here, Cliff.
Would that be
You
private
output
string
on
builder?
20, right?
No, I think what it is the iteration. whenever
No,
we
but
have
see,
a looping structure, right?
you're building it on line 28 and then you're overwriting it on line 29, are you
I'm
not?
appending. I'm constantly appending.
The word append.
And
Yeah.
output's still highlighted, it still tell you to turn it into a.
Yeah,
'cause I'm not
damn
doing any
it.
sort of iteration. That's the thing. I think that's what it is, iteration. So go back to our, where is it? Console does it? Where's the string builder we're using last time? Where did we use string builder last time? Display
We
hand,
used it
didn't
in
we?
the options.
I thought we used a
to,
display hand right here. Here it is. So notice here it's not yelling at me. I think it's because of this iteration here. So yeah, I think that's what it is. We iterate for building it because we don't know how big it's going to get, how complex it's going to get. And so it's the amount of concatenation is unknown. I'm wondering if that's why it does it. So iteration, they like string builder, but when you're not iterating, they don't care because it's like it's not enough to justify it. So that is most likely what it probably is now. It's most likely the concept that we were looping straight through it. Now, why is it yelling at me? It's redundant, right? In mine. Fine. This will probably change later though. So you know what? I'm going to put it back to freaking string builder because this is going to become an iteration system. So that we're going to test. So we are going to test this later when we do the iteration through the player, through the hand list. So once we bring in the hand list, I'm curious to see if this goes away. For now, we're going to ignore it because I'm expecting once we convert this to a looping structure to print all the players, it's no longer going to yell at us about using string builder. Right now, what we're doing is something very, very basic, and that's why I'm thinking it's okay with it. It doesn't want it to, you don't need string builder because we're doing this very simple. But once we add that iteration there, I'm expecting it to no longer be upset with string builder. Anyway, so we do that. So now we have our deal and display deck, and then we can see who won. Is there any way for someone to bust with 2 cards?
No.
We don't need to test that yet. So private void, determine. There. If, and how do I do, so what's the condition we're doing here?
Do we test for bust? And then that's a winner?
Not yet.
And the other
No,
guy's a
we
winner,
don't have to
or-
test yet.
We want to see if the value of the player's hand is higher or lower than the value of the dealer's hand.
Get value is greater than, not player, dang it. Dealer, I get value. I lost a curly bracket somewhere. Wins.
So
What's the
what's
other
your
options?
philosophy on curly bracket for 1 line code bucks?
Yeah, that's going to be based on, I like them for that. So I like curly brackets even on single liners just because it's a great way to kind of cap off that if statement for me.
Yeah, helps
because
keep
of very
track
nice
of it,
capping, but go based on the company. Some companies, they will not do curly brackets on single line if statements. So,
There is there's a plugin you can get for IntelliJ called Rainbow Brackets. So it'll
yeah,
change
that's
the
from
color
Visual
of
Studio
your
Code had the
code
same thing.
for that.
So, yep. But so what's the other options we have? I like this stuff. I don't know. I like
If you
if
didn't win,
returns.
you would end up losing.
What's that?
If you didn't win, you would end up losing.
Is there any
because
other options?
The dealer would, or push if
You
you're
would.
tied.
We get about push. Push. Thank you.
It seems like a
Why do you
switch.
have that return on line 44?
It'll make sense again in a second. Hold on.
Okay.
I like if return statements. So if true return, I don't like using else. And else if.
But you can also do a
Um,
switch here, can't you?
What's that? No, because you can't do conditions instead of switches. Switches can't do conditionals. Switches run on a statement and then with the result. So I can't do a greater than or equal to kind of system with switches. I'm going to say if this is equal to that or this or this.
Mhm.
Right. Into that. And then finally, if these both fail, we know as S out. Jesus, S out, not R out. Main thing is like, I do that. My practice is the if return statements because it keeps my indentation as low as possible. And I get to do this final item here, which is on a single line and shows the catch-all scenario on a single line. And so I don't need to worry about having that else statement.
Say dealer wins again.
We don't know that's true though.
I like all
Seems
your
like they
SFs,
always
though.
win.
It's like a positive way of saying it. None of them say anyone loses. Like,
True.
it's either a fair win or a zero, you lose here.
Hey, gotta be positive because you want to play to keep
No,
playing. You
words
call
are-
them a
words
loser,
are
they're gonna
powerful,
want to leave.
seriously.
Yeah.
The words that
honestly,
you choose
that's-
to use are powerful.
And honestly, that's probably a technique that's used at places. If you call someone a loser, they're more likely to leave. But if you never say anyone lost, it always keeps this positive attitude
what
and
I'm
people want to
saying.
keep playing.
What's
it's a whole
funny on the
psychology thing.
craps table, I'll put up dealer money, which is basically giving them a tip. If they win, they get to keep it, whatever. So when you put it up, I'll ask them, I'll be like, when this hits, you have to yell dealer wins again, and I'll put money up. And they do it. You should see the players get so mad about it because they just lost thousands of dollars and the dealer won $2. It's unbelievable. They'll do anything for the tip, right? So they don't. I
Great.
don't know. It's pretty funny.
And David just replied back, by
You're-
the way,
you're
he
a bully,
says,
Steve.
didn't even think about it. So true. So yeah, I mentioned to David, don't play too much blackjack. How ironic, he's going to Vegas. He goes, didn't even think about it. So true. So I question that statement though, that he didn't even think about it.
Yeah, it's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, your mind.
We're creating card
We're
games
going
and
to
you're going to
Vegas.
Vegas. Come on.
First thing you go on any trip is like, what are we doing at career does that could relate to this?
I like that mentality. That worked for me. But yeah. Again, no. So for anyone else wondering about this, yeah. This is a mentality that I found that it's a good kind of just for me, it's a good mental thought because it helps me to reduce my if condition, like my if logic, like branching. I'm always shooting for an if return. That's what I want to find. If return systems. That way I'm never accidentally doing gigantic like nested if statements and stuff like that. Same with else's. I don't like to rely on else's because that can lead towards large indentation. I'm very big on keeping my indentation as low as possible. And so you'll see me do a lot of this. There is nothing wrong, of course. And again, this is something that won't hurt you in an interview or anything like that. Because it's going to be based on what the company likes. If that, and then lastly, else. That. The main thing is I need these else's because this line does not end the function, so it'll keep going down. So I don't have the else here. It will still run this check and waste memory. Even though it won't be true, it'll still run the check. And then if I don't have the else here, it's going to actually run this period every single time. So then we definitely would put dealer wins again because it's always going to say the dealer wins regardless of the scenario. So this is kind of that concept there. So that's why I like the if return because it keeps my system very clean. And I can also put that other if statement on its own line instead of doing else if on the same line of the closing bracket. So kind of works for me. And it helps me again to also keep these things separate. So this if statement isn't necessarily reliant on this, even though it technically is, because if this is true, there's no chance that any of this gets run. So it acts as an automatic else. And this also, for me, it helped me also train my logical deductive reasoning a bit more, thinking about like there's never an else. It's just if this, I'm only going to hit this line if this was untrue because of the return statement. So it helped a little bit with my logical flow and deductive reasoning. So that's why I like if returns. I always kind of try to target those. Cool. And it also helps to just try to keep the code block inside of my if statements small. I shouldn't be running the entire logic inside of an if. I should be running the killer code inside of an if. Something that kills the method or ends the method should go inside the if statement with the entire logic of the method being outside an if statement. So if I'm always targeting the if return, my main method's logic is outside the if statement. My if statements are trying to end the function as early as possible. So again, the more we get in, the more these might make sense, but for the time you see me do that a lot, and I'll usually try to recommend it. Shoot for if returns. Let's get all that. Cool. Oh, they're good. We think we have enough to actually at least test the system now, right? I think we have enough here. And so what we're going to do here is going to come back up to our play game, our play round. We'll go ahead and deal cards. So we'll do deal. We'll display the table and then determine winner. and see if that works. Let's make sure that works. Go back to main now. Get rid of all this stuff. So I'm gonna do table.
Oh my God.
Table. Table dot play round. Play. 13-7. Damn. So far, so good. Play again. Player wins with a 17. Play again. Dealer wins with the 19. I feel like we're playing Baccarat. I do.
This is great.
Yeah, there you go. This is the easiest way to play blackjack. Just you place a bet and the first two cards end the game. No worry about busting. Dealer wins that one. Player wins the 20. So yeah, this seems to work so far. So we have the simple flow of a round. So now we can add in the next logic of the round, which is actually letting a player take their turn. We'll still not play the dealer yet, or maybe we will. But again, we want to now let the player play their turn. All right. So back to the table. I'm gonna add a little bit of code. It's already 8:57, so I add a little bit of code here, and then we'll probably give you guys a small attempt to try to write some code. So what is that turn? What are we going to call here? So we have play round and we have a player action. We have the player run their action. What is that called? Again, think game theory. We've been talking about these. You have these same terms every single time. What are we doing now?
Get action.
Yeah, but we're doing what? So every round has what inside of a round? When a player goes, what is that item called? The player's what?
Turn.
Your turn.
There it is. Turn. Yeah. Your turn. Was it? Is that what you said, Emilio?
It said turn twice and I was muted. Damn it.
Yeah.
I was like, wait
No
a minute.
credit. No
That- that
credit.
Turn.
There's like, I know this. I know this.
Oh, no. I am leaving myself unmuted now.
No credit.
Yeah, this is the turn, right? We're going to give each actor a turn, or each hand is going to take a turn. Each hand has a turn. Whether it's a split hand, a player hand, or a dealer hand, every hand is going to take a turn. And so that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to do private, void, turn. And it's going to accept a hand. If we want to, we can also give this active hand to make sure it's very clear what's happening. This is the active hand that's taking the turn, right? And so what do we want to have happen on a turn? So it's your turn. What do you want to see?
The cards in my hand.
Yeah, probably want to see your own cards, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So, active hand, dot display hand. And that do a string, or is that an actual display? I think it's just a display, right? Nope, it's string. So we do S out. Okay. Display the hand. Good. Then what?
You would also
Give
want to
the
see what
options.
going.
What was that, Mike?
I think you would also want to see what card the dealer is showing.
Could do that. What I heard another person though. What was the other thing I heard?
Show the options.
Show the options. Now, don't we have something that auto shows the options? Isn't there a method in the hand that auto shows the options? But I do like the idea of showing just the dealer, right? So we want to see our hand, but also the dealer hand probably. We don't need to see the other player's hands because we already, at the beginning of the round, we displayed the whole table, right? So we could do S out dealer dot display hand as well. And we can prefix it with the string dealer.
I think it's good to have it as part of turn for when we have multiple players.
What's
So
that?
you don't have to scroll. I think it's good to have it as part of turn because when we have multiple players, you don't want to have to scroll all the way up every
True.
time to check what the dealer had.
That could be a good thing. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it. Yeah. Is it necessary to play? Not necessary, but is it a convenient item? Yeah. Because a lot of times a player will make their decision based on what the dealer has, not what the other player has. So well, it's nice to see the whole table, and it might be good to do that at the beginning of every player's turn, the very first time, but every time they have to take an action, we probably want to show this stuff. But yeah. So now, after we see the dealer's hand in our own hand, what happens in the game? So we look at our hand, our clans are flipped over, we looked at our hand, we look at the dealer's hand. What do we do next?
We decide if we want to hit or do we bet? Are we taking a bet
We make an
first?
action. We've already did the bet. Yeah. Well, again, we're not doing bets right now. So that's not
Okay, so
part of it.
we decide whether or not we want to hit or stand.
We want to get our action, right? I want to get the action, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that true? Yeah, because get action. Remember how our action system works. We go back to our holder, which is the actor class. So we go back to actor and look at, oh wait, not that. Where's that one? That one was where again? Is, all right. Oh, right. So that's going to be in our actual individual actor class. So we see here in our interface, it's a interface item. So that means the actor that we have has a get action class. If we look at our player class, because we're definitely dealing with the, we're definitely building this with the idea that it's the player. I can see a lot of you are considering this as the player, even though I never said it's the player. This could be a dealer too, right? The active hand could be the dealer, theoretically. So actions count. You see here, get action, we're going to go ahead and display the hand already. So we may not need this, do we? Look at get action. Get action will display the hand for us too, and the value. So this line doesn't seem to be needed, so we can get rid of that one. We can still display the dealer if we want. We could also even do a cool thing here. We only display the dealer if the active hand is not the dealer hand. We'll add that later. We'll see that later. For now, though, we're going to go ahead and say point to dealer. We already see that display hand is inside of get action. Our hand, we're going to get the value, and then here we're going to get the available actions, and then we're going to return one of those actions. And so we're going to do byte action equals active hand dot get action. All right. And then we're going to do something based on that action, right? We're going to do some sort of action based on that. But right now, let's just do a quick thing. We're just going to display the action we got. So I want to display the action, but I don't want to display the number. I want to display the string of the action, right? So what's the best way for me to test which action I got and do something different depending on the action I got? We doing if statements, or is there a better one?
Would a switch be more specific?
We're not doing any sort of greater than's or anything, are we? We're just doing if action is 0, we quit. If action is 1, we hit. If action is 2, we stand, right? And so those sound like switch, right? We'll switch action is 0. That's out. Quitting. Is 1. Jesus. Like that. Okay. 2. Out. What's the universal sign for standing? How do you, because we know in a lot of casinos they can be loud, so we also use hand motions to actually use your state, do your certain items in blackjack. Does anyone actually know the hand motion for not for staying?
Is it waving?
Yeah, wave hand, right?
Yeah.
Hand is 3.
And there's also like, if you want to be hit, you tap on the table, don't you?
Yep. Yep. People say hit me, or you can also just do, yeah, you could type in if you want tap tap.
Yeah.
You want a full automatopoeia? Just do tap tap. You could do here walks away. Yep. So you don't have to do any sort of like speech if you want. You could have fun with it 100%. definitely have fun with it. And with some of you guys in your ASCII art, I'm sure there's gonna be some fun stuff in your projects. So I'm waiting to see what happens.
Flipping off the dealer.
Flipping off the dealer. There you go. Doubling down, and then 2 hands. Some fun. All right, and then just for the fun of it, of course, and this is just common practice. Default, S out, error.
It would be great if like if someone in someone's game, if you run out of money, you can apply to be a dealer and then make money back that way.
That could be a fun little feature to add. Definitely. Got that default error bad action. However, when you run out of money, you just become the dealer. So you can come eventually you can get back into the game.
It's like indentured servitude.
Yeah. Let's see. So quitting it means waves hand, double down, 2 hands, error bad action. So the idea is that you should know in most cases now, default sometimes you do need to use, but in certain situations, like in this, we know the options we should have. We should never hit the default, but you want that there because we don't, again, you're trying to avoid crashing your application. You don't want your application crashing. So if somehow they sneak through your system, you do want to be able to catch that and print something out. So with that, and then we're just going to instantly end the turn with a single action for now. We're not going to actually do any of these items yet. We just want to make sure that this is working. So we're just going to do a single player turn, make sure that we can get the action from the player during our normal flow of the game. So back up here.
The default's also good for slight debugging in case you know your logic's not right, working
100%.
right.
It's good to have those there just in case something happens. Yep. Again, what I said, we put it there with the expectation it never runs, but you want it there in case it does. You can see that and it doesn't just crash. And so you can help, you can run debugging tools you want. You can print out if we wanted to. What a good thing to here would be is to actually print out what action was. So error bad action, and then do plus action. So you can see what it was and actually like, how did I get this, right? So that's actually much better error message. But yeah. We're here, we're gonna add in after display table, do turn, and we're going to put the player hand in for now. So we're going to play the player. And yep, we're also going to do turn dealer. We'll have both people go. So we're going to have the player take a turn and the dealer will take a turn and we'll see what happens. So we'll play. So there we see the table. We see the dealer and 10 ace diamond. So the player gets a 21. So what are we going to do? Damn, that's lucky. We have a soft blackjack. I think we're going to stand. What do you think? With his hand, dealer did hit on a 16. Of course, we're not actually doing that. So the player, of course, wins with the normal, just who has the best hand. That was nice. Interesting. That's not what I expected. Oh, right. So yeah, we have the dealer show. But if I remember correctly, if we go to so remember, players get action, we display hand and get the value. But if we look at the dealers get action, we don't display the hand. And so the fact that our turn auto displays the dealer actually works out pretty nicely, doesn't it? Originally, our get action for the dealer wasn't going to display the dealer's hand. So that worked for us. Not bad, huh? Actually, I did not expect that to happen. I actually expected dealer to show up twice. I forgot the dealer's get action was different from the player's get action. So that actually worked out well. Cool. That's the thing that's really cool sometimes is when you code with a good plan in action, sometimes what you had originally works out nice. And just like, oh, cool, that works. All right, let's keep going with it. So don't always expect it to happen, but sometimes it works out really well. All right, so what I want you guys, the last thing I'm going to do, by the way. So yeah, last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put in, how do I want to do this actually? Let me put that in time. This is what we're going to do actually. We're going to do this. So I want to do a single thing. So void. And then Yeah. Let's just have fun with this. Even though it's probably not needed. Yeah, I'm gonna put them all here. If you realize that it's a method that's not needed, just leave it blank. That's fine by me. I'm gonna do stand. We're not gonna do split though yet. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that yet. All right. Oh, yeah. Who else? Split. So we can't the option to hit it.
You
Split.
can't use double
Good.
because I think it thinks double's giving you an error.
Doubles
Oh,
a
right.
data type.
Yeah, it
Double
is.
down.
You're right.
Just double down.
Yeah, I was gonna do that. Yeah, I was thinking of that. I was like, what is it? Not double me, double down. Yeah, double down. So do that. Split should. So what we're gonna do now is I want you to implement these three, and for the moment, we're just gonna do this actually. So split is just gonna do double down, active hand. So that's all that. So yeah, we're gonna need to switch this eventually to actually do the actual split system. For now, we're just gonna go ahead and do double down and split are gonna be the same action. And again, double down, we don't have betting yet. So you could definitely double, the bet. The bet is 0. So doubling the bet of 0 is going to be 0, which is fine. So you can definitely do that action here. So that way when we start implementing the bet system, the double down logic works. Yeah, implement your hit, stand, double down, and split. For the moment, again, we're not going to do repetition here. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to implement the repetition. We want to get a single action and actually perform that single action. All these actions right now will end the turn. So hitting once ends the turn, standing ends the turn, doubling down will hit, give you a card and end the turn. And then splitting is just going to do the double down action as well for the time being. Later on, we're going to go ahead and adjust these a little more, make sure they work right. And then we'll also make sure these work with the split and the multiple hands. But for tomorrow, try to see if you can get these in a basic sense, working in a basic sense. All right, that's your challenge with this one. Try to get a basic sense of working. And again, the current plan is that all of these will end the turn. So nothing is repetitive yet. We're going to be adding that tomorrow as well. So that's what's going to be adding tomorrow. So take a stab at these, see what you can come up with. We'll probably give you guys, again, 30 to 45 minutes tomorrow at the beginning of class for those of you who have work and stuff. Can't work on it tonight or tomorrow morning. So you'll get the 30 to 45 minutes tomorrow to work on this. So do be aware of that, but definitely try to get a stab at this as soon as you can. Let's do this then. Terminal, make sure it's posted so you can get access to it. Git add -a. Started. Actually did more than what we expected, which is great. Origin beyond available. There we go. Cool. It's up there and ready to go. So you guys can pull that down if you need it. Otherwise, hopefully you guys followed along and you got it. I'll try to get this video uploaded tonight since we don't have much time tomorrow, so you can review it if you need to. Any questions so far? Are we seeing this kind of way we slowly build this thing out without trying to do too much in one shot? That's really been my focus for this one, is that focus on a single player and a single dealer. I know a lot of times we can be tempted to just dive right into the list of players, a list of hands, all this kind of complicated stuff, right? It can be very tempting to want to dive into it because it doesn't seem that complicated at first. But what's really nice is by doing it this way, we slowed ourselves down. We make sure we handle the base systems first. Because if we can't handle an action or a turn for a single player, why the hell are we trying to do it for all the players, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of the mentality here. Keeping it as simple. We shouldn't, it's the idea of like, don't run unless you can walk, right? If you try running first, you're just going to fall flat on your face. It's not going to work. So that's kind of the idea here. Walk before you can run. So take care, make sure we can handle one player before we put in a list of players in. And so that's kind of the mentality I'm going to show here, is that concept that you can slowly build up from little by little by little, testing the whole way through. Finding systems you can build that you can run small tests from main, implement things from main and make sure it works. So even this, we were able to run it multiple times, building out this table system. Slowly but surely, we're building it out. We build a system where we draw the hands, we display them, we instantly pick a winner. none of this complex blackjack action before we can actually print out something right away. You know, we're going to add in after this, we're definitely going to add in the logic to check for busting, of course, later on, but we don't need that in the beginning. In the beginning, even after this, we can say, you know what, screw it, for highest hand wins. So they just keep hitting and win. But after we see that, then we can go ahead and add in that logic that says, okay, no, now that we know that that works, let's add in the busting capability. We also need to make sure that we auto bust whenever somebody goes above 21, that we're going to add in that logic that a hit that causes us to go over 21 ends their turn. Otherwise, they can just abuse the system and try to hit a bunch of times. So that's something to keep in mind. So those are things we're going to be able to add on later as we need them. But again, we shouldn't worry about busting unless we can handle the standard behavior, right? That concept of handling the simplest system first, adding in complexity later on. Always start simple. Keep it super simple. I'm sure a lot of you heard that acronym, keep it super simple, but you've probably heard a more derogatory term of it. So we try to be polite here. So keep it super simple. And actually, I personally like that one just more because it hits that point super simple. It's not just keep it simple, keep it super simple at the beginning. Add complexity. You shouldn't add complexity unless the simple system works. So always keep that very much in the back of your mind. So keep this out. So yeah, try to keep that focused here. These should be simple. These should not be complicated. If you're adding fields and stuff like that, you're going too far. Go ahead and do it. By all means, don't stop yourself, but be aware that maybe this is going to be a little too much. And so you should definitely ask about it tomorrow at the start of class. Like, hey, I can only get this working by doing this, this, and this. And that way we can validate what happened. All right. Make sure that we help you with your thought process and your approaches. Sound good? Awesome, everybody. Good work today. I will see you all tomorrow. We're definitely on path to getting this done by Thursday. So we're still on path. So we'll see you all then. Good night.
Pep
Good
cat.
night.
Everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dave.
Don't forget Pep cat.
What?
Pep cat.
Pep
Problem exists between keyboard and chair.
Yeah, that was a fun part of computers of being a tech support person. There were so many times I wanted to say that.
Hey, Cliff, you're still recording, by the way.